Chapter 728. It was as if a nuclear bomb had exploded in one-line sky. The violent shaking made the spectators feel like they could not sit still. Lin Jun struck out with the Annihilation Divine Thunder and slowly retracted his hand. He knew that this move did not kill Qin Jianfeng, because Qin Jianfeng was still ranked first, and he was still second. But Qin Jianfeng was not in a good state either. In the smoke, Lin Jun saw him. At this moment, Qin Jianfeng was even worse than a beggar. He was completely embedded in a mountain rock. His clothes had already turned into rags, and his entire body was pitch black. There was a huge hole in his waist, which was blasted out by the Annihilation Divine Thunder. The Divine Thunder blasted his body, but he did not die. Golden blood flowed out of his abdomen. When they saw the golden blood with specks of starlight, everyone was stunned. Monarch race. So Qin Jianfeng was from the monarch race. No wonder he was so strong. People did not dare to enter the endless sea of stars because there were monarch race people in the endless sea of stars. Legend had it that the monarch race was a race even more ancient than the human race. When life was born, the ancestors of the monarch race appeared. The monarch race people were born with the talent for cultivation. Their aptitude and physique were far above the human race. They were once the strongest race in the primordial realm. After every monarch race person was born, they would have their own unique talent martial skills. They were extremely powerful and could be said to be blessed by nature. Their strength far surpassed other races. Therefore, they were called the monarch race, which meant that they were born emperors. However, the monarch race also had a huge drawback. It was difficult to reproduce, and their numbers were small. When the monarch race people ruled the land, the human race and other intelligent races started a war against the monarch race. Facing the endless tide of people in the primordial realm, the monarch race was finally defeated. After losing a large number of living forces, the remaining monarch race people were finally chased out of the land and retreated into the endless sea of stars. Although they left the ground, in the unchanging starry sky, it became the world of the monarch race. For countless years, the many countries on the ground of the primordial realm nibbled at the starry sky bit by bit, bringing the starry sky into their surveillance range. But unfortunately, the endless sea of stars was too big. The monarch race people had always lived in the endless sea of stars. Once warriors of other races were discovered by them, the outcome would usually not be good. If one were to evaluate why the other races were unwilling to enter the endless sea of stars, then the presence of monarch clan cultivators would definitely be at the top of the list. Now that he was looking at historical data, there were many legends about the monarch clan. Every monarch clan warrior was a legend. Although they were the common enemy of the people of the Yuan realm, many people in the Yuan realm were actually fans of the monarch clan. They madly worshipped the emperor clan warriors and even hoped to have a bit of the emperor clan bloodline, because in their eyes, this was a noble race. However, most people still rejected the emperor clans because people were always unwilling to be enslaved. The people of the emperor clan didn't look any different from humans on the outside, but they had one characteristic, which was that their blood was golden. The members of the D clan were all very good at disguising themselves. Especially later on, the members of the D clan grasped a method that could make their blood appear red. However, if they were seriously injured, golden blood would still flow out. Now, Qin Jianfeng was heavily injured by Lin Jun. His disguise had been broken, and his golden blood flowed out of his body. The entire primordial realm was in an uproar at this moment. So Qin Jianfeng is from the Emperor clan. No wonder this guy was different from others from the moment he was born. I'm also from the state of Qin, so I've been living under the rule of the Emperor clan for so many years. It's too scary. The people of the Emperor clan are all demons. They don't treat other races as humans. Lin Jun, kill him. It's over, it's over. Lin Jun's powerful attack didn't eliminate Qin Jianfeng. This time, the first place of the Divine Punishment Star will be taken away by the people of the Emperor clan. Once a member of the Emperor clan who has obtained a super divine body advances to the immortal realm, who can be his match? Qin Jianfeng is from the Emperor clan, then Qin Wushang, must also be from the Emperor clan. No. Hurry up and capture Qin Wushang. The two Emperor clan warriors hiding in the human world were exposed because of Lin Zhun's divine thunder of destruction. Lin Zhun looked at the heavily injured Qin Jianfeng and knew that this guy was probably going to go berserk. Sure enough, in the smoke and dust, Qin Jianfeng opened his eyes and stared at Lin Zhun with hatred. Lin Zhun, you're really good to actually be able to injure me to this extent. However, it's still a pity that my innate ability, Spirit Sword Body, saved me. Otherwise, I might have been killed by your lightning. His wounds were rapidly recovering, and Qin Jianfeng stood up. Since I've already been exposed, then I won't say anything else. Lin Zhun, goodbye. Buzz. The sword in Qin Jianfeng's hand had already disappeared. Replacing it was a meter-long sword aura that shot out from his hands. That sword aura hummed and continued to grow. Soon, it reached 2 meters, 3 meters, 5 meters. When the sword aura reached 10 meters long, Qin Jianfeng roared and waved his arms. Instantly, everything around him was destroyed. The long sword aura was like 2 crisscrossing knives, and the one-line sky was a huge piece of tofu. The knives slashed back and forth crazily, cutting the surrounding space into cracks. According to the power of Lin Zhun's Taiyuan, every attack of Qin Jianfeng's sword aura was Taiyuan. Moreover, it was fast and crazily waved. It was like a fishing net directly covering over, making it impossible for people to dodge. At this time, Lin Zhun was almost at his limit. The continuous injuries were constantly eating away at his physical strength. Facing the current Qin Jianfeng, he had no strength to continue fighting. My Black Hole Devourer can't swallow Qin Jianfeng, and I can only use the Annihilation Thunder once. If I'm not completely confident, I can't use it again. I have to hide for a while. Facing the opponent's fierce attacks, Lin Zhun used a satellite fall. The moment the satellite fall appeared, it was cut into pieces by the sword aura. However, it gave Lin Zhun some time. Using his spiritual force, he stepped on a lotus and rose into the sky. Even if Qin Jianfeng had the spiritual sword body, Lin Zhun could still come and go freely in the sky of the star of divine punishment. Sword aura that made people's hair stand on and swept past behind him. Lotus flowers bloomed and were cut down. Lin Zhun narrowly avoided Qin Jianfeng's attack and finally succeeded in ascending into the sky. At this time, a notification came from the Star of Divine Punishment again. 3 minutes until the end of the Star of Divine Punishment. Counting down, 179, 178, 177. Qin Jianfeng looked at Lin Zhun, leaving, and laughed loudly. Lin Zhun, run? I'm not afraid of you running. After 3 minutes, the battle will end. I'll still be first, and you can only be second. In the top 10, the second place is the most tragic. The first place will always belong to the Emperor clan. Qin Jianfeng raised a hand high. The sword aura on it flashed. The wounds on his body had healed a lot. Although his clothes didn't cover his body, his imposing manner was enough to shock the heroes. For example, Boston and the others, they were not convinced that Qin Jianfeng was first. Now, looking at it again, they no longer had the heart to compete. The Emperor clan was blessed by nature, and others were far from comparable. Lin Zhun climbed all the way back to the summit of Skyline Peak. Now that he had returned, his mentality was completely different. Lin Zhun didn't care whether or not Qin Jianfeng was from the Emperor clan, but Qin Jianfeng's current strength truly surpassed his. This left Lin Zhun a bit unhappy. As he sat down at the summit, Lin Zhun thought about a problem. If he wanted to defeat Qin Jianfeng now, it wasn't impossible. That was if Lin Zhun broke through on the spot and directly entered the World King realm. After reaching the World King realm, Lin Zhun would no longer fear Qin Jianfeng. He believed that he could obtain first place. However, Lin Zhun was unwilling to give up. His breakthrough to the World King realm hadn't reached the point where it would naturally happen. Once he broke through, there was no turning back. This made it difficult for Lin Zhun, who had been breaking through his limits the entire time, to make a choice. World King, Super Divine Body. How should he choose? As he was hesitating, he suddenly felt his scalp tingle with numbness. Above, is there some kind of pressure coming down on me? With doubts in his heart, Lin Jun looked up. Ning Qingxian pushed the star power in her body to the limit. Her jade-like hands pushed against the small planet. She was relying on her own strength to cause the small planet to deviate from its path and crash into the enchantment that the gods had placed around the star of divine punishment. Strands of fragrant sweat dripped down from the top of her head, and her soft and beautiful figure was already tightly wrapped by her wet clothes. Her star power was pushed to the limit. The small planet was forcefully pushed away by Ning Qingshuan's strength. It's moving, it's moving. As long as it moves, the rest will be easy. The star power in her dantian gushed out like crazy. The small planet's speed gradually increased. Gradually, under Ning Qingshuan's unremitting efforts, the small planet turned into a giant meteor that flew towards the star of divine punishment. This small planet's mass isn't small. As long as I can hit the weakest point, I might be able to break the enchantment. Just a tiny crack, just a tiny bit is enough. As the small planet flew, it got closer and closer to the star of divine punishment. But at this moment, a deadly ringtone rang out once again. Ugh, my head! Ning Qingxian screamed. She hugged her head with both hands and almost instantly laid down on the small planet. The third soul-chasing bell didn't ring like she had expected. It rang almost at the same time. At the 20-minute mark, it immediately rang. Master, I don't want to. I don't want to go back. I can't go back at this time. Her brain felt like it was being gouged out. The pain caused this peerless beauty's muscles to spasm. Blood flowed down from the corner of her mouth. She bit her lip so hard that it broke. Without Ning Qingshuan's push, the small planet's speed gradually slowed down. It was about to lose its momentum. No, I don't want to. I don't want to. Ning Qingxian screamed loudly. With great willpower, she stretched out her hands and pushed against the small planet again. Lin Jun is in danger. His clone is still sealed by the silver needle. I have to save him. I have to save him. Lin Jun, you have to succeed. You have to reach the peak. Her beautiful eyes were bloodshot. Her black hair danced in the air. Ning Qingxian endured the greatest pain in the world and pushed the small planet again. Accelerate, accelerate, accelerate again. Chapter 729. Lin Jun sat cross-legged at the top of the one-line sky peak, looking up at the sky. What is that? A meteor? Looking at the huge fireball, Lin Jun's heart was filled with shock. One must know that this was the star of divine punishment. When the gods set up the star of divine punishment, they would definitely plan everything in advance, and there would definitely be no meteors entering. However, this thing that shouldn't have appeared did. Moreover, it was coming towards the one-line sky. Lin Jun sat here and could clearly feel the trajectory of the meteor. In less than a minute, this incomparably huge meteor would hit the barrier set up by the gods. In other words, it was no longer appropriate to describe this planet as a meteor. This was clearly another planet. Although it was not as big as the Earth, it was definitely much bigger than a satellite like the Moon. The atmospheric air could not dissolve much of the planet's mass. The force of the collision would definitely be beyond imagination. Could it be that the people of the Emperor clan felt that things were not good and came here to save Qin Jianfeng? That shouldn't be the case. In the eyes of the gods, there shouldn't be any difference between the human clan and the Emperor clan. Those are all fights between humans. What's going on? Not only was Lin Jun puzzled, but the others were also puzzled. Through Lin Jun's eyes, they could also see the sky and the huge planet that was falling from the sky. The others were puzzled, but this scene was different in the eyes of Liang Jihuan and Tai Gupa. Bastard, you evil disciple. You actually interfered with the order of the star of divine punishment set up by the gods. Do you really think that I can't deal with you? The muscles on Tai Gupa's face twitched. At this moment, she could be incomparably sure that the movement of the planet was pushed forward by Ning Qingxian. Could it be? Is this really done by the Empress? Liang Jihuan also couldn't believe it. It can't be wrong. That traitorous disciple's strength is outstanding now. Even I'm not sure that I could defeat her. Other than her, I can't think of anyone else who would be so bored to go to the Star of Divine Punishment to do this. Damn it, how can the Empress do this? For a Lin Jun, she even dares to offend the gods. She is really lawless, senior. Ring the bell faster, we must stop her. It's too late. I can bring her back, but Lu Xing's fall is irreversible. I hope that this traitorous disciple will not bring disaster to our Greenleaf sect. Antai sighed and shook the soul-chasing bell in her hand even harder. It crossed the distance of countless light years and went straight into Ning Qingshuan's mind. Ning Qingshuan's head swung up and down violently. She kept slamming her head against the planet in front of her. Such violent slamming could alleviate some of her pain. At this moment, the soul-chasing bell could no longer stop her. When people held onto a glimmer of hope, they could always create miracles. The planet in front of her had already been smashed into a deep pit by her. Her jade-like face was already full of scars, but she didn't care at all, because she was about to succeed. She was about to succeed. Rumble. With unparalleled power, the planet finally crashed into the divine enchantment barrier. It was as if half of the Earth had collided with the entire Earth. Although the Earth had a protective shield, the huge impact still made the planet tremble. If it wasn't for this protective shield, perhaps the Star of Divine Punishment would have been annihilated. An incomparably huge planet was smashed into pieces by the protective shield. Countless mountain-like rocks and fragments of the planet flew all over the sky, covering the entire sky in an instant. Looking out from the planet, it was as if doomsday had arrived. The warriors on the Star of Divine Punishment desperately tried to find a place to hide. At this moment, no one wanted the Star of Divine Punishment to end more than them. How could such a disaster happen when it was about to end? Sizzle. Streaks of electric wave-like energy flowed chaotically in the sky, as if a mirror was hit by something. A crack actually appeared in the divine enchantment above the one-line sky. Oh my God! The divine enchantment was broken by the planet. Are we going to be free? Now it seems like we have a chance to go out. Should we go out or not? If we go out, will it count as us giving up? I'm sure I'll get the spirit-severing aura. I don't want to leave. I won't leave either. There's only 1 minute left before the Star of Divine Punishment ends. I'd rather die here than leave. I won't leave either. Even if someone puts a knife to my neck, I won't leave. Without the spirit-severing aura, my lifespan will run out soon. I'd rather live and die with the Star of Divine Punishment. All the warriors stood firmly. They didn't leave, nor did they approach the crack in the sky, including Qin Jianfeng. Although he was very curious as to why the planet would smash into them, he had already won the first place. No matter what, he wouldn't go near it. Although the enchantment had cracked and the effect of the forbidden space had disappeared, he still wouldn't go over. If he went over, he would be pulled out of the Star of Divine Punishment by some force, and his result would be invalid. The only person who dared to go near it was Lin Jun. He had already obtained a super godly body. He didn't care much about a high-level godly body. However, this wasn't the reason why he wanted to go near it. The reason that attracted him was that he seemed to see a slim figure flying among the rocks. Could it be? It can't be. When the figure appeared again, she was already lying on top of the enchantment. After all, the enchantment had only cracked open a small crack. Moreover, it was still recovering quickly. It would soon close. However, this figure made Lin Jun's heart clench. Xian, you're crazy. Lin Jun couldn't sit still anymore. He shot up into the sky and went straight to the top of the enchantment. At this time, the effect of the forbidden space had disappeared. Lin Jun quickly arrived at the crack in the enchantment. He didn't see wrong. It was indeed Ning Qingxian. However, Lin Jun had never seen Ning Qingxian in such a sorry state. The color of her clothes couldn't be seen. Moreover, they were tattered. Her face and body were full of wounds. Blood and sweat mixed together. It made people feel sorry for her. This kind of situation shouldn't happen to her. She should be the beautiful woman who was as elegant as an orchid. Why did you come? Lin Jun wanted to get closer to Ning Qingxian. However, there was still a sticky force around the enchantment. It blocked his body. He could only reach out an arm, and try to grab Ning Qingshuan's hand. Ning Qingxian opened her eyes. The red veins in her eyes surprised Lin Jun. She seemed to be enduring great pain. She talked to Lin Jun intermittently. 10 months ago, I thought something happened to you. That's why I came. Idiot. This is the star of God's punishment. No one will die here. What could happen to me? Lin Jun gritted his teeth and grabbed her hand tightly. What happened to you? You seem to be suffering a lot. First, let's not talk about this. Let your doppelganger come out. Lin Jun saw that Ning Qingshuan's body was shaking violently. He knew that there must be something important. He didn't dare to delay. He immediately summoned the doppelganger of Hua Hua Tai Sui. Ning Qingxian raised her hand. A silver needle was pulled out from the heart of Hua Hua Tai Sui. Lin Jun, if I don't know you after this, will you blame me? Xianair, what are you talking about? There won't be such a day. How can you not know me? Lin Jun, perhaps I've done something foolish. But knowing you, I've never regretted it. I've never. Lin Jun said. Xianair, don't talk nonsense. Wait for me. The star of God's punishment will be over soon. No, I will rush out of this enchantment now and meet you. Lin Jun wanted to rush out of here. However, the enchantment was about to be restored. He couldn't do it. My thoughts, my soul, I can't remember them. Master, I hate it so much. Ning Qingxian suddenly let go of Lin Jun's hand. She held her head with both hands and screamed at the sky. Her body trembled violently a few times. Then everything calmed down. The enchantment began to close. Lin Jun slapped the enchantment violently. Xianair, what's wrong with you? Tell me what happened. Ning Qingxian lowered her head and glanced at Lin Jun. There was a trace of confusion in her eyes. However, there was more indifference. It was as if she never knew Lin Jun. Looking at her dirty body, Ning Qingxian raised her hand. A ray of light flowed and removed the filth. The five-colored deer spread its 4 hooves and ran down from the sky. Ning Qingxian leaped onto the deer's back and stepped into the air. From then on, Ning Qingxian didn't turn back to look at Lin Jun. Soon, she disappeared from Lin Jun's vision. She just shouted, Master. This matter must be related to her master. Lin Jun felt extremely uncomfortable. Seeing Ning Qingxian being robbed of her memories in front of him made the anger in his heart reach its peak. He must figure out what happened. He must find Xianair. However, before that, he must end the battle on the star of God's punishment. Otherwise, Xianair's millions of li journey would be meaningless. At this time, the countdown to the end sounded in the star of God's punishment. Lin Jun took a deep breath. He felt the unsealed star power of Hua Hua Tai Sui beside him. Lin Jun had already removed the 2 divine needles, devouring blood and engraving bone, and recovered 5 million star power. Now that the engraving heart needles were removed by Ning Qingxian, another 2 million star power was recovered. Lin Jun thought that 2 million star power was the limit. However, after the 3 divine needles were removed, her meridians were completely unblocked. Hua Hua Tai Sui's star power increased again. 5 million star power increased to 8 million star power. The star power increased again. 8 million original body and 8 million doppelgangers. A total of 16 million star power. The divine power pill increased the star power by 40%. Another 6 from million star power. Lin Jun's star power had reached an unprecedented 22 from million star power. Surging energy rose from Lin Jun's body. His blood was boiling and his star power was surging. Galactic Beast Transformation. Roar. Chapter 730. The people watching the battle on the Star of Divine Punishment experienced a cruel test. It felt like a roller coaster, rising and falling. There were too many unexpected things. First, Lin Jun rose and killed everyone. Then, Qin Jianfeng turned around and turned out to be an emperor. Then, a woman pushed a planet against the barrier and then turned to leave. In the end, Lin Jun transformed into a giant fire qilin. No, it was not a fire qilin. A fire qilin was red, but this one was black. When this giant beast appeared, people seemed to see a galaxy in the sky. Clusters of nebulae spun in the sky. The black giant beast roared at the sky and then pounced down from the sky. It stepped on a lotus and arrived in front of Qin Jianfeng in a few steps. Qin Jianfeng's hands shot out sword light as he stood there and looked at the strange beast. Lin Jun, is this your galactic beast's true form? It should be from the Qilin race. But no matter which branch of the Qilin race you are, you can't take advantage of me today. I'll let you have a taste of the combat power of an Emperor powerhouse. Take a look at my sword blade storm. He waved his hands, and the two swords stirred up the wind and clouds. The crisscrossing sword net once again filled the space. It was this move that sent Lin Jun, who had a body, astral power, and had taken a divine power pill, into the sky. It was obvious how powerful this attack was. At this moment, the countdown had reached 5 seconds. 5 seconds later, the star of divine punishment would end. Facing Qin Jianfeng's endless sword net, Lin Jun's cold beast eyes shot out a cold light as if he was looking at a dead man. He opened his mouth, and starlight flashed in the depths of his throat. That was the most terrifying place in the universe, a black hole. Emperor Powerhouse Qin Jianfeng, you lurked in the great Qin Empire for this day, right? But it's a pity that you met me. This time, you won't get what you want. Black hole storm. A storm of starlight instantly filled Qin Jianfeng's vision. He couldn't see anything else in his field of vision. The sword net he sent out had disappeared at this moment. Spirit sword body protection. Qin Jianfeng's body was surrounded by sword qi. Countless sword qi pierced into the surrounding mountain walls like ropes, firmly holding his body in place. The astral power in his dantian boiled, and the 37 million astral power formed a powerful protective net. He was going to fight Lin Jun's black hole storm to the death. At this moment, Qin Jianfeng no longer dared to hope that he could defeat Lin Jun. His only goal now was to persevere through these last few seconds. In less than 5 seconds, this moment felt as long as a century. Every second, Qin Jianfeng's strength was rapidly shrinking and degenerating. His body was no longer under his control. 3. Sand and pebbles flew around him, and it was a scene of doomsday. Everything around him was being sucked into the endless black hole. 2. Qin Jianfeng's hands finally couldn't take it anymore. He couldn't imagine how Lin Jun could have such a powerful talent that even his 30 million star power couldn't resist. 1. With a whoosh, Qin Jianfeng let out a scream, and his entire body fell into the black hole. However, he didn't really fall in. The moment he entered the black hole, he was already determined to be dead. Otherwise, if he was really turned into a molecular structure by the black hole, who knew if the gods could revive him? A ball of green light wrapped around Qin Jianfeng's body and began to fly into the sky. He clearly saw the changes on the leaderboard. At the last moment, he lost his first place. After losing half of his points, he fell to the second place. Lin Jun finally reached the top. Floating in the air, he could even hear the final voice. Divine Punishment Star has ended. All participants have been teleported back to the starting point. Qin Jianfeng closed his eyes slightly to prevent tears from flowing out. He was extremely unwilling in his heart. He didn't expect to be eliminated at the last moment. If this was the case, he would rather have never gotten first place. At least that way, he would feel better in his heart. However, everything was already over. Everything was already decided, and there wouldn't be any changes. In the next moment, he had already returned to the great Qin Empire. Just as he appeared, his father, Qin Wushang, grabbed his arm. "Don't say anything. Let's go." "Where are we going?" "Of course, we're leaving the primordial realm and going to the endless sea of stars. We can't stay here any longer. The people who support me have already started a riot. A few princes have already come to the imperial capital in the name of protecting the emperor. We can't be the emperor anymore." Qin Jianfeng was pulled by his father in a daze. His heart was cold. Everything was over. After hiding in the primordial realm for thousands of years, this was the result. If Lin Jun hadn't eliminated him, if he hadn't been severely injured by Lin Jun's destructive thunder, he wouldn't have ended up like this. No one would have discovered his identity as an emperor. He was proud of the emperor, but the primordial realm couldn't tolerate the emperor. He and his father had no choice but to leave. But I still have my divine body. It doesn't matter. The gods will give it to you directly, no matter where you are. What we need to do now is leave. Qin Wushang and Qin Jianfeng rushed out of the palace. They didn't have time to take anything with them, and rushed into the vast starry sky. The once glorious Great Qin Empire was starting to decline from today onwards. On the streets of southern Liang, on the big screen, the crowd was silent for a moment before they suddenly burst into deafening cheers. He won. First place. Lin Jun took first place. The hero of southern Liang. We will sing for him. How can singing be enough? We still need to erect a monument for him, to forever commemorate this moment. The excited people sang and danced, losing themselves in joy. When the voices reached the palace, Liang Jihuan slowly closed his eyes. He found the voices extremely piercing. Granny Iron stood up. Your Majesty, your Empress has returned. She took 10 months to find the star of divine punishment. She only needed a month to return. How is she? She's all right. She didn't become a lunatic, a fool, or an idiot. However, she might have forgotten many things. That's good. This is the only good news we've heard. After Granny Iron left, Liang Jihuan sat for a while before summoning Shi Xiaomao in. Release all the dirt on Lin Jun. Let the people know what kind of person this national hero is. Yes, your Majesty. However, the people are in high spirits. Releasing it now might not have a good effect. Why don't we do it in 2 days? All right, let's wait for 2 days. Find the most suitable time. Understood. Shi Xiaomao left. Liang Jihuan leaned back in his chair. He was still a little relieved that Ning Qingxian might have lost her memories. If she had not lost her memories, then according to his agreement with Ning Qingxian, as long as Lin Jun did not want his throne, he would agree to anything. When Lin Jun came to take the Empress away, he could not go against it. Now, Ning Qingxian had lost her memories. Everything was settled, and he no longer needed to worry about this problem. The warriors on the Star of Divine Punishment had already been teleported away. The entire planet fell into silence. Occasionally, there would be the occasional roar of undead creatures. The canopy that sealed the planet had been completely removed. This was a lonely land of the dead. Lin Jun had already transformed back into a human from his black hole beast form. He looked up into the starry sky and was somewhat at a loss. Why did he not teleport away and instead stay here? Just as he was feeling puzzled, a voice suddenly sounded in his ears. Lin Jun, what a wonderful journey. Even I didn't think that you would be able to get first place. It's you. Lin Jun was delighted. He was too familiar with the voice. It was the person who had tested him at the North Pole. Or rather, it was this person who had set up the Star of Divine Punishment as a test. The Star of Divine Punishment happens once every 100,000 years. Since ancient times, it has been held countless times. However, a situation like yours is too rare. Lin Jun did not say a word. 100,000 years sounded very long, but in the eternal river of time, how many 100,000 years had passed? The Earth was already around 4.5 billion years old. The Sun was even older than the Earth. People thought that the new territories might have existed for close to 20 billion years. However, what about the primordial realm? The primordial realm was born much earlier than the new territories. As for how many years it had been, no one could say for sure. There were many things that happened in ancient times that could not be counted. Even if the Earth had existed for 4.5 billion years, how many stars of divine punishment had been held? Once every 100,000 years, 1,000 times in 100 million years. During the Earth's existence, the Star of Divine Punishment had appeared 45,000 times. Then, how many stars of divine punishment had there been? It was possible that there had been hundreds of thousands of times, or even millions of times. However, this god told him that a situation like his was too rare. Then, it was really rare? The god's voice continued. As far as I know, after the Star of Divine Punishment appeared, there were only 2 people like you who obtained a super godly body and then obtained first place. You are the 3rd. Then, may I ask, what should I do now? Still give me a super godly body? Of course. This is the star of divine punishment. The only reward is a godly body. However, your situation is more special than the other two. This is a bit of a headache. Oh, it's different from the other two. What's the difference? There are a few types of rewards here. One is a godly body during the normal ranking. You obtained first place, and you already obtained a super godly body. Then, normally, you would have two godly bodies, each with their own uses. However, you obtain the first place to be eliminated from the star of divine punishment. The reward is also a high-level godly body. Therefore, there is no way to arrange 3 godly bodies. Lin Jun remained silent. He knew that at this time, he had to make a fortune quietly. This was the best choice. As expected, after a while, the voice finally said, "Fine, your situation is special this time. Then, I'll let you have a look at the rewards this time. I'll give you a chance to choose." Chapter 731. The so-called God Body was a special feature. For example, Lin Jun's God Body was a snow lotus. Among the God Bodies, some were flames and some were wind. They represented the basic features of the God Body. What does that mean? Can I choose? It's like this. You won first place and received a super godly body as a reward. However, you already have the snow lotus super godly body. Nothing can get close to you, and no evil can harm you. It's already a top godly body, so it can no longer be compatible with a super godly body. As compensation, I will personally make it reach 100% star power. Lin Jun was shocked. Being able to use 100% of the star power was, of course, a good choice. Even if he could use 90% of the super god body, 10% would be wasted. It'd be great if he could use all of it. Even so, Lin Jun still felt like he was losing. He said, "I have a super god body, and you're only giving me 10% of the star power. Isn't that a big loss? 100%, and you still feel like you're losing?" The voice sounded angry. "Yes, it's not just a loss. It's a big loss. These are all elemental bodies. I need a special god body, like my snow lotus or sword god body." The voice was silent for a while. "How about this? I'll give you a chance, but the chance to control your own fate is in your hands. Please tell me." Seeing the confusion in Lin Jun's eyes, the voice went on to say, "These god bodies are all high-class god bodies. You killed the first enemy, so you should have a high-class god body. Now, you can choose one of them. One of the god bodies is compatible with your snow lotus. If you choose correctly, this god body can have the power of a super god body. It all depends on whether or not you can find it. Were the 2 people before me the same? The 2 people before you both obtained divine bodies that could unleash 100% of their astral powers. You didn't have the chance to choose now. Moreover, you only have one chance to fuse divine bodies. Once you fail, your divine body won't be able to fuse with other divine bodies. You mean I can make the wrong choice? That's right. If you want to get the powers of 2 super god bodies, you have to find the one that is compatible. The others are not compatible with you. If you choose the wrong one, you will gain nothing. If you want to gain something, you have to take the risk. Lin Jun didn't reject this kind of gamble. If he wanted to reach the peak, he had to walk a different path from others. Moreover, he firmly believed that he wouldn't choose the wrong path. His gaze fell on a row of divine bodies. The high-level divine bodies were all elemental divine bodies. These divine bodies were not ordinary either. There were divine bodies of light, divine bodies of wind, divine bodies of water, divine bodies of fire, divine bodies of thunder. Lin Jun was dazzled by the sight of so many divine bodies. If I can get my hands on this radiant god physique, it will definitely provide a huge boost to my current light elemental power. Maybe it will have some other wonderful uses. Metal divine body. This should be used to increase sharpness. It will be of great help in battle. Can this divine lightning body help me speed up the process of nurturing the divine lightning of destruction? I only have one divine lightning in the black hole now. If it can speed up the process, it will be worth it. Fire divine body. It can probably help me achieve the power of a bright cyan flame. Then maybe I can advance to a 7th grade alchemist. This may be the most profitable. Looking at the divine bodies one by one, Lin Jun had a feeling that he could be compatible with any of the other divine bodies at will, because he had all the elemental energies. However, The god said that he only had one chance, which meant that many of them were incompatible. Once he made the wrong choice, there would be no turning back. In front of each divine body, Lin Jun paused for a while. He used his heart to feel and understand. He wouldn't leave until he got an answer. It was either yes or no. There were 8 divine bodies here, each containing one of the elemental energies: metal, wood, water, fire, earth, wind, lightning, and light. Lin Jun struggled for a long time in front of the 8 elemental energies. The voice seemed to be a little impatient. Hurry up. After you're done here, I still have to give out divine bodies to all the other warriors who got into the top 100. I can't waste all my time on you. Lin Jun was unmoved and analyzed carefully. Metal, fire, and lightning could be eliminated first. It was impossible for them to be compatible with the snow lotus. Earth, wood, water, wind, and light were all possible. Because the snow lotus was a plant, it was compatible with these elements. 5 elements were compatible, but he could only choose one. This meant that he had to choose the most compatible one. After about 5 minutes of silence, Lin Jun came in front of the water divine body. I choose this one. Are you sure? Don't you want to consider the others? Plants need soil the most to grow. Light, wind, and wood elemental energies are also very important, right? You are right, but I think this one is the most compatible. Lin Jun smiled. Plants can't grow without water. Moreover, water can change the most. It could be water, ice, frost, and snow. Since it is the snow lotus, it must be the most compatible. Have you thought about it? Not changing it. A gentleman's word is as good as a horse's whip. I hope you won't go back on your words, Lin Jun said confidently. The voice of the god paused for a moment. Finally, it laughed. Huh, what an interesting little guy. I didn't guide you. I even tried to lead you astray, but you didn't fall for it. It seems that the 10 months in the North Pole made your state of mind much more firm. You won't be affected by the outside world anymore. Thank you for the compliment. Since you've made your decision, I have to congratulate you. This divine body of water is compatible with your snow lotus divine body. Just as you said, it is the divine body that is most compatible with the snow lotus. You made the right choice. Then please fulfill your promise, God. Let this divine body have the special ability of a super divine body. Okay, since I have promised you, I won't go back on my words. Lin Jun, you have obtained the water divine body. From now on, you can use 100% of your astral power. It can also increase your astral power by 1 million points. As for your special ability, it is your body. Now, your body can be called the immortal spirit body. Immortal spirit body? What does that mean? There was a hint of joy in Lin Jun's tone. This name sounded very high and mighty. The snow lotus divine body has infinite vitality. Now that you have been nourished by the water vapor, your body's recovery function will be greatly enhanced. Finally, your body has undergone a qualitative change. Now, every part of your body can be said to have been strengthened. It can also be said that it has become somewhat illusory. In layman's terms, when you fight, you won't suffer too much damage. For example, if your heart is pierced or if your throat is cut, these injuries that are fatal to others are no longer fatal to you. Lin Jun's eyes shone. So, I won't be killed in battle? It's not that you won't be killed. There is no life in this universe that can't be killed. It just means that you will be very difficult to kill. Your fatal weakness is gone. Unless the opponent blasts you into pieces or cuts you into pieces, your body and organs will recover very quickly. Then I understand. The immortal spirit body means that it is difficult to destroy. What about the spirit body? You have too many questions, so I'll tell you all at once. The spirit body refers to your ability to comprehend. The higher a martial artist's boundary, the more progress they will need to make in the future. Don't think that you are invincible just because you can defeat the vast majority of world kings. The universe is vast, and you will never be able to imagine just how many geniuses there are. In the later stages, the true masters will be able to comprehend things. With a spirit body, your ability to understand things will rise to another level. Lin Jun nodded. He had never been arrogant or slack off. Since he had decided to climb to the peak, he had to learn to be respectful. As the voice finished speaking, the water-divine body entered Lin Jun's body. A clear stream of water vapor enveloped Lin Jun from head to toe, instantly washing away all the filth in his body. His entire person became much more transparent in an instant. A wisp of clear spring water poured into the dark star space, forming an ocean above the North Pole. It was like the Arctic Ocean on Earth, completely surrounding the North Pole where the snow lotus was. A cold wind blew over, forming a unique polar landscape. As the water vapor rose, another million-star force stars poured into the dark star space, causing Lin Jun's strength to rise once more. Lin Jun was overjoyed. This time, he had maximized his benefits. His body star force had risen to 9 million, and he could even display 100% of it. This was equal to an ordinary martial artist having a force of 18 million. Lin Jun had a huge advantage even when compared to other possessors of divine bodies. In particular, the undying spirit body. This was equal to greatly increasing Lin Jun's combat strength. In future battles, as long as he didn't encounter an enemy whose strength was too great, Lin Jun wouldn't fear anyone. At this time, the voice spoke out once more, "Mission complete. Lin Jun, I am filled with anticipation for your future. I must leave now, but before I leave, I will give you a piece of advice. The road of a martial artist is one that requires experience. In a peaceful environment, a martial artist will never be able to compare with a martial artist that has been through hundreds of battles. You must go out and venture into those dangerous lands. Only by experiencing wind and rain can you grow. Thank you for Senior's guidance. I will. Goodbye. Hey, you haven't told me your name yet. When you reach immortal level, you will have the opportunity to know who I am." The voice disappeared, and Lin Jun's body flashed. He automatically left the Star of God's Punishment. In the next moment, Lin Jun had returned to the inn in southern Liang City. This was the place where he had entered the Star of God's Punishment. After more than a year, I'm finally back. Lin Jun took a deep breath. Although he was worried about Ning Qingxian might not be back yet. If he was in another empire, he would be rewarded handsomely for being the champion of the Star of God's Punishment. However, in southern Liang, Lin Jun wasn't confident that he would be rewarded. Would the current emperor, Liang Jihuan, reward him? Chapter 732. It had been a long time since he had seen the dimensional universe. Lin Jun opened the forum. After opening the forum, Lin Jun was surprised to find that there was a pinned post that was slandering him. Over the past few days, the southern Liang citizens have been clamoring for Lin Jun to be rewarded. Some enthusiastic people even listed many rewards, hoping that the royal family would reward this hero who had won glory for the country. But just as the clamor reached its peak, the post that was slandering him was updated. To be able to be pinned at the top of the forum meant that it was the royal family's idea. Or rather, it was Emperor Liang Jihuan's idea. Who exactly is Lin Jun? It was a huge post with an eye-catching title. The content was even more explosive. First of all, the post explained that Lin Jun came from the New Territories. After entering the primordial realm, he plundered and plundered. He suppressed his peers in the Shinla Prefecture's medicinal herb market and amassed wealth wantonly. As for why Lin Jun, a poor boy from the New Territories, knew the art of alchemy, there was an explanation here. Lin Jun was not Lin Jun at all. This person was actually the bastard king who had secretly taken photos of the crown princess bathing in the southern Liang palace, Tai Sui Hua Hua. There was also detailed information that proved that Lin Jun was Tai Sui Hua Hua. It even involved the silver needle that the crown princess had inserted into Tai Sui Hua Hua's body. Later on, the crown princess personally went to the Star of God's Punishment to help him remove the silver needle. During this process, Lin Jun was described as a Hua Hua prince who deceived women. He used all kinds of methods to gain the crown princess' trust and turn black into white. He caused the crown princess to be trapped in love. After all, if a woman's body was seen by someone, even if that person was a bad person, they would have some different feelings. Moreover, the crown princess was inexperienced. It was very normal for her to be deceived by a veteran like Lin Jun. In the end, The crown princess was even punished by her sect. Currently, she was delirious. All of this was caused by Lin Jun. One had to know that the crown princess, Ning Qingxian, was the pride of the southern Liang people. The southern Liang might not be comparable to other countries, but when it came to women, the crown princess, Ning Qingxian, was definitely the best. Southern Liang was the most. The fact that Lin Jun lied to Ning Qingxian made many people dislike Lin Jun. After arousing everyone's disgust, there was another explosive piece of news. Could Lin Jun represent the Southern Liang? Lin Jun's quota came from the Alchemist Guild. It wasn't distributed by the Southern Liang royal family. More importantly, Lin Jun himself was a wanted criminal. It also listed the fact that Lin Jun had killed Gu Yunting, the president of the Chamber of Commerce in Xinla County. The chain of evidence was complete, one link after another, making it impossible for anyone to refute. Furthermore, the governor of Xinla County had personally testified. The county governor released the news and said that most of the evidence was personally investigated by the current crown prince, Liang Chun. As a wanted criminal, he shouldn't participate in any activities. Lin Jun's original identity should be a prisoner. Therefore, the Post's point of view was that Lin Jun wasn't qualified to represent the Southern Liang royal family, no matter how good his results were. There was even news of Lin Jun sneaking into the Southern Liang Alchemist Guild and suppressing his peers. He even chased an elder and a deacon out of the guild. Elder Wang and Deacon Feng personally testified. They tearfully complained about Lin Jun's atrocities. From this, it could be seen how meticulous the royal family's preparations were. They had to make sure that Lin Jun couldn't make a comeback. The Post ended here. It had completely caused a huge uproar in the Southern Liang. In an instant, most people in the dimensional universe started to turn against Lin Jun. The most important one was that Lin Jun deceived the crown princess's feelings, causing her to lose her memories and become delirious. Furthermore, his identity as a wanted criminal was also despicable. Of course, there were some people who still supported Lin Jun. They felt that these things weren't proportional to his results, so there was no need to harp on it. However, this point of view was untenable. If they supported Lin Jun, wouldn't it mean that the Southern Liang Empress had to face the fact that she had to remarry? The fact that a wanted criminal wouldn't be investigated? The matter of a wanted criminal was still acceptable. However, if Ning Qingxian left with another man, many people wouldn't be able to accept it. A wave of negative comments came. Those who were singing Lin Jun's praises changed their expressions. They all demanded that Lin Jun be severely punished and locked up in prison. Some people even said that he should be executed. In response to the public's demands, the royal family gave an explanation that they were in the midst of urgent research. They would immediately announce the results when they had them. Moreover, they asked the public to automatically supervise and prevent Lin Jun from escaping. All transmission arrays in Southern Liang had already been closed to Lin Jun. Once they discovered Lin Jun, they would immediately report it. After all, Lin Jun had been an inn and no one knew where he had gone. Thus, the current Lin Jun was the most wanted criminal in the history of Southern Liang. There were also posts on the forums telling the public that they didn't need to fear Lin Jun's martial strength. The reason he had performed so well on the Star of Divine Punishment was because he had Star Force Transfer in pills. Now, Lin Jun couldn't use these two moves. His strength was only equal to a slightly stronger World King. The posts weren't wrong. Lin Jun's 9 million Star Force was only a World King powerhouse. He couldn't be considered a peak powerhouse. Moreover, before he obtained the Snow Lotus and the Undying Spirit Body, Lin Jun's Star Force was only 7 million. This was the same as telling the public that if they saw Lin Jun, there was no need to be polite. Although the results of the royal family's research hadn't been released yet, Lin Jun had already become a wanted criminal. Seeing this, Lin Jun sneered. Liang Jihuan had a good plan. This move of his was ruthless enough to pull the carpet from under the cauldron. Now that Ning Qingxian had lost her memories and was on her way back, he wanted to completely reverse the facts and forcefully change Lin Jun's identity. He wanted to turn him into the Hua Hua Tai Sui. Before this, he had committed countless crimes. After becoming Lin Jun, he still hadn't changed. In the future, Even if Ning Qingxian returned, the only news she would see would be that she had been deceived by Lin Jun. With Ning Qingshuan's personality, she might even hate Lin Jun out of jealousy, just like how she hated Hua Tai Sui. However, Lin Jun couldn't help but admit that Liang Jihuan's move was very effective. At the very least, he wouldn't have a foothold in southern Liang. Very good. Liang Jihuan, you're forcing my hand. Lin Jun's eyes flashed with a cold chill. Since this was the case, then Lin Jun, wouldn't resign himself to death. He began to silently calculate what he should do. First, Lin Jun felt that he should restore Ning Qingshuan's memories. On the Star of Divine Punishment, Ning Qingshuan's cold gaze had left an unforgettable impression on Lin Jun. He didn't want to see Ning Qingxian become like that. If he wanted to restore her memories, he had to understand what the Greenleaf sect had done to Ning Qingxian. Only then would he be able to find the right medicine. If it were anyone else, this would be an extremely difficult task. However, as an alchemist, it wasn't impossible to restore someone's memories. He just had to find the root of the problem. Lin Jun immediately began to search for information on the Greenleaf sect. The Greenleaf sect wasn't a secret sect. This was the Pillar sect of Southern Liang. It could be said that half of the stability of Southern Liang's imperial power was supported by the Greenleaf sect. Many of the important officials were from the Greenleaf sect. Lin Jun had the authority of the Grand Elder of the Alchemist Guild. Although the public opinion was extremely unfavorable to him, the Alchemist Guild didn't reduce Lin Jun's authority. This allowed him to still be able to look up many things. Found it. Greenleaf sect's secret technique, soul subduing technique. Soul chasing bell. This is it. Soon, Lin Jun found the relevant information. However, when he wanted to continue looking, he was notified that he didn't have enough authority. What's going on? I don't have the authority of the Alchemist Guild's Grand Elder to look up. Soon, the system gave a prompt. The first requirement to look up was to be a Southern Liang Emperor, a Grade 7 alchemist, a Grade 7 weapon refiner, a 3-flower realm martial artist, a supreme account of the universe first bank, a king of the dimensional arena. Only when one of these conditions was met could he look up information about the soul-subduing technique and the soul-chasing bell. Moreover, this information was a video. Only by experiencing it personally could he know the secret. It was useless for others to convey it. This guaranteed its confidentiality. After looking at this list of titles, Lin Jun closed his eyes slightly. It was impossible to be an emperor, a Grade 7 weapon refiner, and a 3-flower realm martial artist were out of the question. The so-called 3-flower realm was above immortality. A martial artist's essence, energy, and spirit condensed to the top of the 3 flowers. At this time, the body's potential was developed to the limit. Every 3-flower martial artist was an invincible figure. The necessary condition for achieving the 3-flower realm was to have a divine body. Without a divine body, the limit was immortality. After Ning Qingxian broke through immortality, she was a 3-flower martial artist. Only in this realm could she achieve the magnificent feat of pushing a planet to hit a divine barrier. Lin Jun was now at the peak of the domain monarch realm. He was still too far away from the 3-flower realm. The supreme account of the universe first bank was also very difficult. It required a personal account to have 10 trillion real estate. Lin Jun didn't know how many years it would take to achieve that. The king of the dimensional arena could only be obtained by martial artists above immortality. Lin Jun couldn't achieve that. The only person who could and had hope of achieving was a Grade 7 alchemist. I'm currently at the peak of the Grade 6. I'm only one step away from reaching the Grade 7. However, I'm currently missing the word enlightenment. I can only reach the Grade 7 if I create an elixir that's not inferior to the ancient elixir recipe. To be honest, becoming a Grade 7 alchemist was extremely difficult. Otherwise, it wouldn't be on par with a 3-flower martial artist. Lin Jun only managed to reach the peak of the Grade 6 in just a few decades because he had the talent of the black hole beast and could rob others of their memories. Where should I start? Lin Jun was calculating on the bed in the inn when a message suddenly rang in the dimensional universe. Lin Jun only had a few good friends in the dimensional universe, and most of them were alchemists. He thought it was some alchemist, but when he opened the message, he realized that the person who sent the message was Liang Chun. Chapter 733. Looking at Liang Chun baring his fangs and brandishing his claws in the dimensional universe, Lin Jun smiled. If you really want to kill me, then don't yell at me here. I'm at XX Hotel. You can choose to come here yourself or bring someone with you. Liang Chun hung up. About 20 minutes later, the door of the hotel opened. Lin Jun saw Liang Chun sneaking in with his head wrapped. After arriving at Lin Jun's room, Lin Jun waved at Liang Chun. If you want to fight, do it as soon as possible. If you don't want to fight, sit down first. Liang Chun gathered his chi and clenched his fists for a long time. In the end, he didn't have the courage to punch Lin Jun. He sat down dejectedly. Okay. I admit that I'm not your match now, but Lin Jun, you must do one thing. Otherwise, even if I die, I will never forgive you. Tell me, help my mother recover her memory. Liang Chun's eyes turned a little red. My mother is too pitiful. She actually forgot everything because of her master's soul-chasing bell. I went to ask my father, but he said that it's not something I should care about. Lin Jun, she became like this because she wanted to save you. If you can't take responsibility for her, then you're not a man. I'll do it even if you don't tell me. Do you know when your mother will come back? It'll probably take 3 to 5 days. Liang Chun looked at Lin Jun. Although I think 10,000 of you are not worthy of my mother, I saw everything on the star of God's punishment. Lin Jun, this is my mother's choice. I will respect her. Oh, don't you care about your father's feelings? Lin Jun narrowed his eyes and asked. Liang Chun didn't hesitate. Relatively speaking, I care more about my mother. Then he looked at Lin Jun. But don't be too proud. If my mother recovers her memory, I will definitely advise her to stay away from you. You're too wicked. I'm so poor now that I can't even afford to eat. Although I obtained the soul-forming energy this time, I don't even have the money to maintain my cultivation. Speaking of this, Lin Jun was a little embarrassed. He had indeed tricked Liang Chun quite badly. Lin Jun awkwardly changed the topic. Let's not talk about this. Liang Chun, if I'm not wrong, you're here to tip me off, right? Is your father going to attack me? Liang Chun was stunned. How did you guess that? Lin Jun smiled. Is there a need to guess? Your father won't let me go. It was obvious that Lin Jun had guessed correctly, but Liang Chun was still a little unconvinced. Your problem hasn't been solved yet. After all, you've received great honors, and there are still many people supporting you. Before that, my father can't do anything to you. Liang Chun, don't lie through your teeth. I'm not that naive. Yes, your father can't catch me openly, but he can do it secretly. Isn't he worried that if I run away now, he won't be able to find me later? Hearing this, Liang Chun finally nodded slightly. Lin Jun, although you're a bit of a bastard, I have to say that you're quite smart. That's right, when I came here, I heard that my father has already found a 4 immortal stage expert. He's going to capture you first. Once they settle the opposing forces, they'll announce your crimes. That immortal stage expert is already on his way, and this place is probably under surveillance. It'll be difficult for you to return to the Alchemist Guild now. Perhaps the next time I see you, you'll be in Southern Liang's prison. An immortal stage expert is coming to capture me. That's right. Have you heard of Lunatic? Is he the kind of person who doesn't have a good brain? Liang Chun rolled his eyes. Lin Jun, you're still spouting nonsense at a time like this. Lunatic is the name of an immortal stage expert. He's a very violent guy, and he's very strong. How strong? Lin Jun was a little interested. Hee, that's amazing. This person came from Shiliang and was once in the same line as you. He's also an alchemist. In order to strengthen his mental strength, he refined and consumed forbidden drugs. Oh, he's also an alchemist? Did he consume mental strength medicine or pills? Lin Jun knew how difficult it was to obtain mental strength pills. He had now made mental strength medicine, but could only be swallowed by the black hole beast. With the black hole beast's strong genes, it couldn't be sold on the market. If there were mental strength pills, then it would definitely be profitable. His mental strength pills were only half-baked, and he used himself as an experimental subject. Although his mental strength had indeed improved, his temperament had changed greatly. Now this guy basically has no humanity. He made himself look like neither a human nor a ghost, and even killed his family members. No one would make friends with him at all. It's precisely because of this that my father asked him to deal with you, because even if the matter was exposed, he could also push the blame to him. That's really a lunatic. In that case, this person is half successful. It seems that the rank of the alchemist back then wasn't low. Not low. A few hundred years ago, when he went crazy, he was already a peak level 5 alchemist. Later on, his temperament changed, and he was removed from the Alchemist Guild. No one knows what level he's at now. Speaking of this, Liang Chen stood up. All right, I'm leaving. Lin Jun, good luck to you. Actually, I'd like to see you in prison, but if you're caught, there might be no one to help my mother recover her memory. So I had no choice but to come. It's not for you, Lin Jun. I've done my best. I'm leaving. Lin Jun suddenly said, Liang Chen, if one day I want to turn this southern Liang upside down, whose side will you stand on? Liang Chen pondered for a moment. I'll always stand on my mother's side. After that, Liang Chen stood up and left the hotel in a hurry. After Liang Chen left, Lin Jun stood up and stood in front of the window. Liang Jihuan was indeed cunning. While he said that he was researching, it might actually be to numb him. On the other hand, he had already made his move. He even found an immortal level super assassin. Good timing, immortal level warrior. Since this warrior can't be exposed, it's not a problem for me to kill him. Liang Jihuan, since you want to deal with me, let's see if you can do it. From this moment onwards, Lin Jun had already made up his mind. As long as Ning Qingxian was around, the conflict between him and Liang Jihuan would be irreconcilable. However, Liang Jihuan's actions also made him angry. Since that was the case, he might as well shed all pretense of cordiality. As long as he was given some time, he would turn the southern Liang upside down. He reckoned that his current hiding place had already been exposed. However, if it had been exposed, the hotel owner should have come looking for him, right? Thinking of this, Lin Jun suddenly became alert. With the royal family's speed of finding people, it was impossible for him to stay in this hotel for so long without being discovered. Moreover, the hotel owner clearly knew that he was staying here. Why didn't he come looking for him? Under normal circumstances, the hotel owner should have come and told him that he was not welcome here and that he should get lost. Thinking of this, Lin Jun immediately opened the door and went downstairs to the front desk of the hotel. After seeing Lin Jun, the hotel owner was stunned for a moment. Then he asked with a hint of nervousness, Sir, is there anything I can help you with? Don't you know me? Lin Jun asked. No, I don't. What's your name? Lin Jun unleashed a spirit lock, and the nebulous stage boss was immediately controlled. Has anyone come looking for me? Respected master, someone has come. Just now. Someone told me not to disturb you. I reckon that the person who wants to capture you will be here soon. If someone comes, you'll be like this, like this. Yes, master, please be careful. The sky outside is full of surveillance systems. If you go to the endless sea of stars now, you will definitely be discovered and pursued. Got it. Lin Jun did not plan to enter the endless sea of stars again. He had to stay on the ground and wait for Ning Qingxian to return. His main goal now was to return to the Alchemist Guild. Before he finished speaking, the sound of something breaking through the air came from afar. They're here. Asterisk, 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 asterisk outside the hotel's entrance. A martial artist with dirty clothes appeared. He had a full beard, his eyes were bloodshot, and his face was ashen. There was a trace of viciousness in his eyes that did not belong to a normal person. But it just so happened that such a person was the longevity martial artist that made the world fearful. No one knew his name. For so many years, he was called Madman. His temple of immortality was probably the one with the worst worshippers in the vicinity of Dalian. This was because this person did not have much humanity and had even killed many worshippers. Naturally, no one would go to his temple to worship. In the end, this person simply gave up on the temple and began to wander. Today, he came to kill Lin Jun and received a large sum of money. The other party only had one request, and that was to capture him alive. Since the Southern Liang Emperor has such a request, then I will comply. However, a person is alive, but I cannot guarantee that he will be whole. If I only bring back a head that is still alive and the body is a pig, I wonder if the Southern Liang Emperor will still accept it? At that time, Liang Jihuan secretly gritted his teeth. If not for the fact that he wanted to control Lin Jun in advance, he would not even bother with this crazy guy. However, to let Lin Jun suffer more torture was something that Liang Jihuan was willing to see. Madman appeared at the entrance of the hotel and walked in. When he arrived in front of the hotel owner, Madman revealed his red teeth and smiled. "Little guy, tell me if Lin Jun is still here?" The owner immediately trembled. "Yes, he was here just now." "Good, then bring me over to take a look. Don't try to play any tricks." The owner trembled as he brought Madman to Lin Jun's room. He came to the door of the room and began to gently knock on it. "No need to knock." Madman stared, and a wave of mental power exploded on the door like a bomb, directly blowing the door to pieces. Just as the door was blasted open, he saw Lin Jun about to jump out of the window. "Hee, do you think you can still run?" Madman took a big step forward and directly slashed a 3-foot-long steel sword at Lin Jun's neck. The immortal martial artist attacked and locked down space. Lin Jun was already unable to dodge. However, before he could succeed, the hotel owner suddenly attacked from behind him. A long spear fiercely pierced through his back. Madman now understood that the person behind him was Lin Jun. However, he did not know how he could hide from his detection. However, this almost fatal attack did not kill him. Madman roared and suddenly turned around. Without even looking, his sword also pierced through the hotel owner's heart. "If you want to die, then let's die together." However, Lin Jun was unmoved. He raised his hand, and a long sword pierced through his throat. Large mouthfuls of blood flowed out from Madman's mouth. However, this crazy martial artist did not die. Another long sword pierced through Lin Jun's throat. Lin Jun's expression did not change. He waved his hands at the same time, and 2 short swords pierced through Madman's left and right temples again. After 3 consecutive sure-kill moves, Madman finally could not hold on. His eyes lost focus. This martial artist known for his madness leaned back, and his life force finally disappeared. Chapter 734. Looking at the madman's dim eyes falling down, Lin Jun finally let out a long breath. Immortal martial artists were not so easy to deal with. He was able to kill the madman because of a lot of luck. First of all, this guy's brain was not so good. In addition, he could use 100% of his star power, which meant that Lin Jun could prevent his star power from leaking out. As long as he did not want to be discovered, he could even disguise himself as a war god. Even immortal martial artists would not be able to see any clues. This was why he could successfully disguise himself as the owner of the hotel, follow behind the madman, and find an opportunity to kill him in one blow. The one outside who was preparing to jump out of the window was Lin Jun's clone, and Lin Jun's main body was behind the madman. Taking advantage of the madman's attack, Lin Jun suddenly made a move and killed him with one shot. However, immortal martial artist vitality was very strong. They could actually turn around and stab Lin Jun. However, Lin Jun now had the immortal spirit body. If you give me a stab, I will give you a stab back. If you give me a stab back, Lin Jun simply used 2 7-star blades to stab into the madman's brain, completely killing this immortal martial artist. If not for this, in a head-on battle, without star power transfer and god power pill, Lin Jun was really not the immortal martial artist opponent. The 2 wounds on his chest and throat were quickly healing. It was not a big deal. The immortal spirit body was too helpful to Lin Jun. In future battles, Lin Jun did not have to be cautious. If anyone still dared to play the game of mutual destruction with Lin Jun, then they were courting death. Now was not the time to think about this. Lin Jun's mental power directly entered the madman's brain. Soul Search. Lin Jun had not used Soul Search for a few years. He had not found a suitable target. This kind of opportunity was very precious. Lin Jun did not want to waste it on a useless person. And this lunatic was absolutely suitable. First of all, a longevity martial artist was already very impressive. His combat skills and experience were all worth learning from Lin Jun. What's more, the madman was an alchemist and had even created a half-baked spiritual force pill. Lin Jun couldn't let him go. The black hole beast appeared and sucked the madman's ownerless soul into a black hole. It searched his soul and took away all of his memories. Soon, this crazy guy became a part of history. His body and soul were destroyed. After Lin Jun searched his soul, his mind swelled to the point of bursting. He directly entered his inner world and had his avatar bring him to the Alchemist Guild. He had to find a safe place to absorb the madman's memories, and this was definitely not a good place. Frenzy was dead, and there weren't any experts keeping watch outside. Lin Jun smoothly arrived at the Alchemist Guild. He didn't even have time to greet anyone before he plunged into his own courtyard. The door was tightly shut, and he didn't want to be disturbed. His main body sat in the room as waves of memories flooded in. Lin Jun was also familiar with this kind of thing. He removed all the useless memories and specifically chose the useful ones to absorb and organize. The madman was now almost 20,000 years old. 1,000 years ago, he was a peak 5th grade alchemist. Now, even if his alchemy level hadn't reached the 7th grade, it was close. This person was also very creative. He was actually able to develop his own pill recipe, and it was a spiritual force pill that almost no one dared to touch. It was already amazing to be able to concoct a spiritual force medicine according to one's physique. If his spiritual force pill was successfully developed, he would definitely become a 7th grade alchemist. Just the madman's understanding of alchemy alone. Lin Jun absorbed it for 3 full days. Even if Lin Jun was already a peak 6th grade alchemist, he still benefited a lot in this process. After absorbing the madman's alchemy skills, Lin Jun only felt that his understanding of alchemy had become more profound. If it wasn't for the restriction of a pill recipe, perhaps an ordinary 7th grade alchemist would be at his current level. Spiritual force pill. Maybe there really is hope. Combining his own understanding of spiritual force pills with the madman's understanding and eliminating the mistakes, this unattainable pill seemed to be about to take shape. After absorbing the alchemy skills, Lin Jun also found some other advantages of the madman. That was that the madman had actually comprehended the power of law. The reason for the madman's change in temperament wasn't just because of the failure of alchemy. This person had once obtained an opportunity to comprehend the Law Stone Tablet. The location was in an elite concentration camp. A group of geniuses comprehended the Stone Tablet. They all did what they could, from simple to difficult. However, the madman had just entered the immortal realm and was very arrogant. He actually didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth and comprehended the most difficult wordless stone tablet. In the end, he failed and caused some confusion in his spiritual force. It was very difficult to rely on his own cultivation to improve. In the end, he had the idea of refining spiritual force pills. He didn't expect to really make a name for himself. If it wasn't because of this, Lin Jun wouldn't have benefited from it. The madman's swordsmanship seems to be quite famous. Fortunately, I didn't fight him head-on today. Otherwise, even with the immortal spirit body, I would have been cut into pieces by him in the end. However, I can't comprehend his swordsmanship for the time being. I need to slowly comprehend it. For now, I should learn alchemy skills. After 5 days of absorbing, Lin Jun finally understood everything about the madman. When he finished absorbing, just as he walked out of the room, he saw Nalan Chinsi waiting for him outside. "President, long time no see." Lin Jun greeted Nalan Chinsi. Nalan Chinsi looked at Lin Jun with a slightly complicated gaze and sighed. "Lin Jun, you've worked hard during this period. It's okay. No martial artist cultivation isn't hard." Lin Jun sat down and made some tea for Nalan Chinsi. After drinking a mouthful of tea, Nalan Chinsi said with a slightly melancholy tone, "Lin Jun, I know everything about you. The entire Alchemist Guild also knows about it." "Oh, then what does the president think of my matter?" Nalan Chinsi didn't immediately answer Lin Jun's question. Instead, she slowly opened her mouth and said, "Lin Jun, do you know that just yesterday, the crown princess returned to Qingye's sect?" Although Ning Qingxian was already the empress, the people of southern Liang still habitually called her the crown princess. What? Xian'er is back? So fast? Nayland Chintzy nodded. Yes, it's very fast. I came to find you today to listen to your thoughts. Lin Jun said solemnly, Xian'er went through fire and water for me. I will never give up. Just as I thought. Actually, I'm just asking. I know Lin Jun's character. How can you back down from this kind of matter? Nayland Chintzy smiled bitterly. But this way, our guild will be in a bit of a difficult situation. Lin Jun didn't say anything. He knew that Nayland Chintzy had something else to say. Lin Jun, by right, our alchemist guild doesn't need to look at other people's faces. But that's under normal circumstances. Your matter is a bit too big. I've already asked around. After the crown princess returned, she went to Qingye's sect. Yesterday, the emperor also went there. It said that he had a good chat with the sect master of Qingye's sect, Tai. After the emperor came out from Qingye's sect, he returned to the palace and talked with his ministers and the representatives of various forces. He wants to settle all the obstacles and convict you. Lin Jun nodded, as expected. If he can't even settle this little bit of resistance, he doesn't need to be the emperor. Over the past few days, the royal family has been guiding the public opinion on the forum. The wind is getting worse and worse for you. However, as long as the Nanliang royal family doesn't convict you, I can guarantee that you'll be safe here. But when the time comes to convict you, I'm afraid that even if I want to protect you, I won't be able to. President, you don't have to worry about this matter. Lin Jun said, I know. Even if they are alchemists, most of the people here are still southern Liang natives. They still have to live in southern Liang. It's impossible for them to fall out with the royal family. Moreover, it's just for me. Nayland Chintzy nodded slightly, indicating that she agreed with Lin Jun's words. So, President, don't worry. When the royal family convicts me, I will leave the Alchemist Guild. I will definitely not drag the guild down. Nayland Chintzy took a deep breath. Lin Jun, how about this? I will arrange for you to leave and go to the Great Qin Empire. The Great Qin Empire has gone through a period of chaos. The royal family has been newly established. The Alchemist Guild president, there's my teacher. I can recommend you to go there. When you go to the Great Qin Empire, you won't be bound by the southern Liang anymore. Lin Jun was touched by Nayland Chintzy's words. She was willing to help him at this time. It was clear that Nayland Chintzy's character was good. President, thank you for your kindness. Maybe I will go there one day. But I want to ask you, do you know when the royal family will convict me? If it's fast, it'll be 3 days. If it's slow, it'll be 5 days. Liang Jihuan also needs time to settle the others. Okay, before that, I want to take an examination. The Grade 7 Alchemist Examination. WH. What? You want to take the Grade 7 Alchemist Examination? Nayland Chintzy's mouth was wide open. Yes. Recently, I have some understanding of the art of alchemy. If everything goes well, I might really succeed. This is unbelievable. Nayland Chintzy stood up and rubbed her hands excitedly. Finally, she clapped her hands. Lin Jun, don't worry. Before your examination ends, even if Liang Jihuan attacks the Alchemist Guild, I will stop them for you. No matter what the final result is, I promise that I will send you out of the southern Liang safely. Lin Jun also stood up with a smile and gave this cute old man a hug. President, I feel that you are more amiable than a beauty. Shoo, shoo, shoo. Don't try this with this old man. Nayland Chintzy's face also revealed a smile. Then you go and prepare. I will arrange it. You should know that even this old man doesn't have the qualifications to invigilate the Grade 7 Alchemist examination. Only my teacher and the others can invigilate the examination. When you are ready, inform me. If you succeed, I should be able to give you the qualifications to become an alchemist. Hee hee. Not bad, not bad. Nayland Chintzy said and ran out. In her opinion, this matter was already settled. If Lin Jun could become a Grade 7 alchemist, then the headquarters would definitely take action. They would not allow Liang Jihuan to kill such talent. No matter how powerful Liang Jihuan was, he would not dare to go against the headquarters. Looking at Nayland Chintzy's back, Lin Jun let out a sigh of relief. Chapter 735. The assessment of a level 7 alchemist was a grand event. Normally, One would have to go to the headquarters or send someone from the headquarters. However, Lin Jun was in a special situation now, so everything could only be simplified. Nayland Chincy reported Lin Jun's situation, and the vice president of the Alchemist Guild headquarters, Guru Long, personally invigilated the assessment. Brother Lin, are you sure you don't need to broadcast it? I think your chances of success are very high. Nayland Chincy patted Lin Jun's shoulder affectionately when she was about to invigilate the assessment. Brother, there's really no need. This isn't a marriage or a wife. There's no need to make it so grand, Lin Jun said with a smile. What's so grand about marriage? Men need to be grand to achieve their careers. Hearing Nayland Chincy's words, Lin Jun was a little speechless. His thinking on Earth had not changed much. In the southern Liang, and even many countries in the Yuan realm, marriage was not a big deal. This was because a powerful warrior might have to marry many wives in his life. Many wives even had to beg the South to marry in. In a different world, the customs and habits were completely different. Lin Jun could not keep up with the times in this aspect. Then can we start? Although it was not grand, there were several audience members present. In addition to Nayland Chincy, the vice president, Dwayne, and the other 3 elders of the Alchemist Guild were all spectators today. They wanted to witness the birth of a level 7 alchemist. Brother Lin, you can do it. If you succeed this time, you'll be the head elder of the headquarters in the future. You should know that the head elder of the headquarters can also be the president of other countries. Hearing Nayland Chincy's encouragement, Lin Jun nodded and then came in front of the alchemy furnace. In front of him, the alchemy furnace and the pills were all prepared. On the big screen, the 3 alchemists opposite him were preparing to watch Lin Jun refine pills to determine if he was qualified to advance to level 7. Among them, sitting in the middle was the vice president of the headquarters, Guru Long, a very powerful alchemist. It was said that to be able to become the vice president of the Alchemist Guild, one had to surpass level 7. However, such alchemists had lived for countless years. They were at least immortal warriors or even 3-flower warriors. Lin Jun did not think so far for the time being. He had to focus on getting the position of level 7 alchemist and obtain more authority so that he could inquire about the Requiem Bell. Grand Elder Lin Jun, are you ready? Dressed in a brocade robe, Lin Jun looked at the dignified Long Ge. Yes, I'm ready. Good. Then I wish you success. Nayland Chincy. When Nayland Chincy heard Ger's order, she nodded and signaled for Lin Jun to begin. The Alchemist Spirit Pill. Lin Jun made a simple introduction, which immediately attracted everyone's attention. Even Gurgle was surprised. As the vice president of the headquarters, he had a lot of people to assess. Although a 7th-grade alchemist was rare, there were still people who went to take the assessment every day. However, the number of people who passed the assessment was too few. Lin Jun did not care about other people's gazes. He sat alone in front of the alchemy furnace and began to refine Level Alchemist Spirit Pill. Level Alchemist Spirit Pill had always been a problem in the alchemy world. Many alchemists wanted to solve this problem, but there had been no successful precedent. It was understandable that one person could not succeed, but if 10,000 people could not succeed, then it was not a problem of the person. Lin Jun did not have any clues before, but after absorbing Madman's memory, he had found the crux of the problem. To refine Level Alchemist Spirit Pill, the first thing to do was to inject Level Alchemist Spirit Pill and then withdraw it. The other alchemists could not succeed because they did not have the medium to refine the pills, but Lin Jun did. After injecting Level Alchemist Spirit Pill, he could withdraw it smoothly without losing the medicinal properties. This required a black hole. Only a black hole could achieve this process perfectly. Lin Jun had done experiments before. It could be said that Level Alchemist Spirit Pill was tailor-made for him. Even if he told others the method, they would not be able to learn it. This was because Lin Jun could transform into a black hole beast because his soul had passed through a black hole and stimulated this bloodline. No one else could do it. Slowly closing his eyes, this set of procedures was all in Lin Jun's mind. All the movements were as smooth as flowing water. On the opposite side, Guru and the others were simply watching at the beginning, but in the end, They could not help but stick to the screen and carefully observe Lin Jun's every move. Amazing, this is really amazing. This Lin Jun's technique and experience have completely the demeanor of a mature level 7 alchemist master. As long as this level alchemist spirit pill is completed, he will be a super master. If he did not advance to level 7, he would not be qualified to be called master. All the processes were amazing, and there was not even the slightest mistake. At the last moment, Lin Jun withdrew his level alchemist spirit pill through the black hole. At this point, the level alchemist spirit pill was out. The moment the fire of the level alchemist spirit pill was lit, everyone stretched their necks and stared at the level alchemist spirit pill. Along the way, there were about 40 to 50 level alchemist spirit pills the size of soybeans. Okay, who can come over and check if my level alchemist spirit pill is effective? Nayland Chintzy immediately volunteered. As the president, I am duty-bound to do this. Dwayne and the others could see that this level alchemist spirit pill was completed, but Nayland Chintzy was the president after all. They could not do anything about this kind of public abuse of power. They could only watch as this old man picked up a level alchemist spirit pill and swallowed it. Hearing Nayland Chintzy's hum, Guru could not sit still. Nayland, what is it? Don't just hum all the time. Vice President, I can now guarantee with my dignity and position that the effect of this level alchemist spirit pill will only be better than I imagined. After swallowing it, I even feel that my dark gold level alchemist spirit pill, which has not moved for 10,000 years, has loosened a little. In that case, this level alchemist spirit pill will work. Not only will it will work too well. Vice President, if this level alchemist spirit pill can be sold in batches, you can't even imagine how much money it will make. Almost half of the people in the entire primordial realm are spirit readers. Everyone needs to increase their spirit pills. Even if you have tens of millions, hundreds of millions, or even billions of level alchemist spirit pills, I can guarantee that they will all be snatched up in a day. Hearing Nayland Chintzy's firm guarantee, Guru had no more doubts. Okay, since President Nayland has approved, then I also believe in the authenticity of this assessment. Now, please show me the level alchemist spirit pill that Lin Jun refined. What is it called? Spirit Star. Lin Jun gave a name at the last minute. Okay, this Spirit Star level alchemist spirit pill was created by Great Elder Lin Jun. President Nayland, please send the level alchemist spirit pill to us as soon as possible so that we can personally witness it. Vice President, what about Lin Jun's level? It's passed. You can first give Lin Jun an identity. As long as there are no problems with this level alchemist spirit pill, Lin Jun's identity will not change. After all, this old man still has some eyesight. Whether or not he is a level 7 alchemist spirit pill cannot be faked. After receiving Guru's authorization, Nayland Chintzy was overjoyed and immediately gave Lin Jun a level 7 alchemist spirit pill badge. Nayland Huizhang, Great Elder Lin Jun has already advanced to level 7. The position of Great Elder of the Southern Liang Guild is no longer suitable for him. He is now the Great Elder of the Guild. I know this very well, Vice President. Brother Lin Jun has not let us down. From now on, he will temporarily be the Great Elder of the Guild. I promise to take good care of him and find a time to send him to the Great Qin Empire. Good. I will immediately inform the president of this good news. Lin Jun, you better hurry up and concoct pills. This is a huge fortune. Lin Jun smiled and nodded. He could tell that Guru wanted him to go to the Great Qin Empire immediately. However, before he finished his business, Lin Jun would not leave. Nayland Chintzy brought over a new cultivation badge and officially announced that Lin Jun had advanced to level 7 alchemist spirit pill master. In the entire southern Liang, there were no more than 5 alchemists. It could be said that at this moment, Lin Jun had reached the peak of his life and could be considered the youngest level 7 alchemist spirit pill master. Brother Lin, don't worry. This time, the Alchemist Guild will guarantee your safety. Nayland Chintzy took charge of everything and said, Lin Jun looked at Nailan Chinsi and asked, "Brother, when will the royal family make a decision?" Nailan Chinsi thought for a moment and said, "Tomorrow, or at most the day after tomorrow. They will make a decision regarding your matter. However, you don't have to worry. I have a way to send you out of southern Liang." "What about Xianer?" Lin Jun said indifferently. Nailan Chinsi was stunned. At this moment, he also understood Lin Jun's attitude. The conflict between him and the royal family was irreconcilable. No matter how hard anyone tried, it would be useless. Liang Jihuan was determined to deal with Lin Jun, but Lin Jun was also determined to deal with the royal family. Since that is the case, I can only hope that you will be safe and take care of yourself. In the future, no matter where you go, don't forget that the Alchemist Guild is also your home. Lin Jun nodded lightly, then stood up and walked into the room. He did not seem to be happy that he had advanced to level 7 Alchemist Spirit Pill Master. There are only 2 days left at most. Within these 2 days, I must figure out the matter of the soul-chasing bell. Once again, he opened the dimensional universe. This time, Lin Jun's identity was promoted. The dimensional universe also changed the authority of the identity simultaneously. Therefore, this time, Lin Jun could finally look up the matter of the soul-chasing bell. Qingye Sect's soul-chasing bell, a divine skill used to restrain the future sect master. The person who is controlled will have a slight memory disorder and a severe mental disorder, turning into a lunatic. The principle is to use the black lotus from the bottomless abyss, the blood flame from the blood sea, and numerous words appeared in front of Lin Jun's eyes. However, he still had to read them and learn them. After about 2 hours, Lin Jun slowly closed the dimensional universe. He had already figured out the refining method of the antidote. Although the process was very slow and had to be done step by step, Lin Jun was confident that he could complete it. The biggest problem now was not the antidote, but how was Lin Jun going to face the people of Qingye Sect, and how was he going to face the people of Southern Liang's royal family? In 1 or 2 days, Lin Jun would be unable to move an inch in Southern Liang. Chapter 736. Within the Southern Liang Imperial Palace, Liang Jihuan had just finished a secret meeting. After so many days of negotiations and compromises, he had finally settled all the opposing forces. Now, no one would stop him from taking action against Lin Jun. Even if Lin Jun was a hero, no one would stop him. Southern Liang was his kingdom, and he was the only king here. No one else could compete with him. Sure, Xiao Mao. Is everything ready? Everything is ready, Your Majesty. The 10,000 world kings of the Imperial Army are all in place. In addition, there are 7 immortal powerhouses. This time, all of them are our trusted subordinates and are absolutely trustworthy. There won't be any mistakes like last time. Humph, that's great. What happened last time? Could that Lin Jun be so strong that he can kill an immortal martial artist? Your Majesty, this matter is hard to say. Madman is unreliable to begin with. I didn't expect him to succeed, but I didn't expect him to die. Thinking about it carefully, Lin Jun is just a region king. No matter how talented he is, it's impossible for him to be a match for an immortal martial artist. Liang Jihuan coldly snorted, "It doesn't matter. No matter what ability he has, no one can save him this time. Even the Alchemist Guild can't protect him. Have the people prepare. After we announce Lin Jun's crimes, have them protest at the Alchemist Guild. Those alchemists are also from Southern Liang. They can't keep harboring Lin Jun. Everything is ready. We are just waiting for Your Majesty's order." "Good. I will issue an imperial edict to arrest Lin Jun." Liang Jihuan strode to the dragon table, picked up the brush, and wrote down the imperial edict. Southern Liang's emperor, Liang Jihuan, proclaims, "Today there's the traitor Lin Jun, also known as Hua Hua Taisui, who was originally a wanted criminal, but he deceived his superiors and sneaked into the Alchemist Guild. He has committed numerous crimes and has angered both men and gods. The current crown prince and empress were both deceived by this person. It can be said that they have committed a heinous crime. Although this person won the first place in the Star of Divine Punishment, it is not enough to forgive his sins. His death sentence can be avoided, but he cannot escape punishment. I hereby sentence Lin Jun to be imprisoned in the water dungeon for 1,000 years and immediately arrested and brought to justice. No one is allowed to obstruct him. Otherwise, it will be treason. Clang! The emperor's jade seal was stamped on top of the document, and the imperial edict with strong words and murderous intent was freshly written. Shi Xiaomao had already forwarded the entire process to the dimensional universe. Now, the winds in the dimensional universe had changed. After many efforts and guidance by the royal family, the people who followed the crowd were gradually brainwashed. More and more people began to accept the fact that Lin Jun was a jerk. No matter how good his results were, Southern Liang did not need a jerk like him. Therefore, the video of the emperor personally announcing Lin Jun's crimes received crazy reposts in the dimensional universe. The emperor had personally judged Lin Jun's crimes. This punk would never be able to make a comeback in Southern Liang. Furthermore, after Liang Zhehuan issued the edict, there were people who immediately announced that Lin Jun was currently hiding in the Alchemist Guild. After receiving this news, a large number of people walked onto the streets and headed for the Alchemist Guild. In the past, the Alchemist Guild's threshold was even higher than the royal families. Those who could come here were either rich or respectable. Ordinary people could not afford the expensive pills, much less climb up the social ladder of being an alchemist. But today was different. With the emperor's edict, everyone felt emboldened. Groups of people walked out of their homes and joined the demonstration. They exerted pressure on the Alchemist Guild, forcing them to hand over the person unconditionally. Hand over the wanted criminal Lin Jun. What's so great about being an alchemist? Alchemy skills cannot override the law. It cannot override the royal authority. Southern Liang belongs to the Liang family, not your alchemist guild. Let him go. Harboring a wanted criminal is the same crime as harboring a wanted criminal. If you don't let him go, we will break down the door and enter. More and more people gathered in front of the guild. There was a sea of people that stretched as far as the eye could see. Under the incitement of many people, the emotions of the people were ignited. There was no one in the primordial realm who was not a warrior. Regardless of their strength, they all had some strength. If a fight really broke out, these people were not weak. The people who came to purchase pills from the Alchemist Guild had long hidden to the side in fear. But gradually, many people who came to purchase pills also joined the demonstration. When they were purchasing herbs, they thought that the Alchemist Guild was the boss. Now, they wanted to have a taste of being the boss. Furthermore, it was not just the people here. Soon, the royal family's imperial army arrived. The imperial army was impressive. Every imperial army soldier was a powerful world king. Furthermore, there were several immortal warriors leading them. The highest commander was Shi Xiaomao's father, Shi Zhonglie. He was the previous imperial guard captain and was now at the immortal realm. Shi Zhonglie was dressed in golden armor as he stood in front of the Alchemist Guild and roared. President Nayland Chensi, Vice President Dwayne, we are all fellow villagers. Listen to the current public opinion. I hope you will not make things difficult for me. Lin Jun is bound to be captured. If you do not wish to make everyone unhappy, it is best that you hand over Lin Jun immediately. I will give you 3 minutes. If there is still no movement in 3 minutes, I will bring people in to search. His roar immediately attracted the applause of countless people. Many people even posted videos and took pictures, expressing their gratification that the Southern Liang had such a powerful army. After Shi Zhonglie finished speaking, the imperial army soldiers drew their bows and unsheathed their swords. A murderous aura rose in front of the Alchemist Guild. Faced with such a lineup, the Alchemist Guild finally opened its doors. Nayland Chensi walked out in her alchemist robe. Captain Shi, what are you doing? President Nayland, let's not play dumb. I am here to capture the criminal Lin Jun. You should be in the guild right now, right? Hand him over, and we will be at peace. Otherwise, Old Shi will not be polite. Nayland Chensi's face darkened. If you dare to barge in, I will dare to order people to kill you immediately. Shi Zhonglie raised his eyebrows. Yes, I know that the Alchemist Guild is very powerful. Southern Liang might not even be in your eyes. But look behind me. There are millions of people here. They all support the capture of Lin Jun. Do you think you can kill all of them? Support Captain Sure. Capture Lin Jun. Support Captain Sure. Capture Lin Jun. Under the lead of someone, countless people let out earth-shattering roars. Nayland Chintzy looked at the crowd of commoners and finally let out a long sigh. Sure, Zhonglia, you don't have to go through so much trouble. I can tell you clearly that Lin Jun is not in the guild right now. What? Where'd he go? Our people have been monitoring the situation. They definitely did not see Lin Jun come out. Hee. What can trash like you do? Lin Jun can come and go as he pleases. When you came over, Lin Jun had already left. After saying that, Nayland Chintzy directly played a video. It turned out that when the people gathered, Lin Jun had disguised himself as a person buying medicine and silently blended into the crowd. This video was deliberately recorded. Moreover, it was recorded by Lin Jun himself and sent to Nayland Chintzy. He is not far away. He is in the crowd. Someone shouted. The people present looked at each other, trying to find Lin Jun. However, how could a person who wanted to hide be found so easily? After being stunned for a moment, Sure Zhonglia immediately shouted, "Notify all teleportation circles to be closed. Notify all the surveillance equipment to be turned on. We cannot let Lin Jun leave the capital. We cannot let him sneak into the endless sea of stars. He is definitely still nearby." These things were already prepared. The teleportation circles were even closed for a few days. Lin Jun had no chance of escaping. After giving the order, Sure Zhonglia immediately asked Liang Jihuan for instructions. Soon, he received Liang Jihuan's order. Capture. Capture the entire city. According to Liang Jihuan's order, Lin Jun was extremely cunning and good at hiding. He requested all the people in the city to be soldiers. They were to observe anyone suspicious around them. As long as there were clues to report, the royal family would even reward them. Although Sure Zhonglia did not think that they could capture Lin Jun like this, he still passed down the order. Since Lin Jun had already left the guild, there was no need to keep so many people here. The crowd began to disperse. Nayland Chintzy looked at the departing crowd and sighed slightly. Brother Lin, you are too stubborn. It is not good to go against the royal family in this situation. I hope everything goes well for you. I don't want to hear that you were captured and so. Has the news been passed down? Liang Jihuan asked. Your Majesty, it has been passed down. Now, there are sentries and spies everywhere in the city. The people have also spontaneously organized to capture Lin Jun and bring him to justice. Even if he hid in a rat hole, we will dig 3 feet into the ground to find him. Liang Jihuan nodded with satisfaction and smiled. Very good. This is the effect I wanted. Completely ruin his reputation. Even if he can still hide temporarily, there is no place for him in southern Liang. He'll have to leave sooner or later. Sure Zhonglia was still a little unwilling. What a pity. This kid is too cunning. He actually hid in the crowd in advance and mixed into the parade. I feel that it will be difficult to catch him. Liang Jihuan sneered. It is not that difficult. This bastard has seduced the Empress, but he has not really succeeded. He will definitely not be willing to give up so easily. As long as the Empress is really with me, I want to see if he can still endure it. Liang Jihuan gritted his teeth and said, You dare to wear a green hat? I will return it to you. Sure Zhonglia could not help but blush with shame. The Emperor was a little confused. That is your Empress. Who can you wear a green hat? Liang Jihuan immediately asked, How is the situation with the Empress? Everything is going well, Your Majesty. Antai has already sent news. Thanks to her efforts, the Empress did not completely lose her memory. Her memory is still stuck at the time a few hundred years ago. She remembers Your Majesty, her master and fellow disciples, but she has even forgotten Hua Tai Sui, let alone Lin Jun. Oh, so good? Exactly. And these days, the people of the Qingye sect have been instilling the current matters in her mind. Now, in her heart, Lin Jun is already a heinous bastard, a bastard who once cheated on her feelings. Her amnesia was caused by Lin Jun. This was also the strategy that Liang Jihuan had formulated. After all, many things could not be completely hidden from Ning Qingxian. So, the best way was to make the best of it and let Ning Qingxian completely hate Lin Jun. After all, now the world was full of people scolding Lin Jun. Ning Qingxian, who had lost her memory, could not believe it. That's good. When the Empress's memory is a little more stable, go and bring her back. I have waited for her for so many years. She should repay me with something. I believe she is already mentally prepared. Yes, Your Majesty. Chapter 737. In the Qingyi sect, Ning Qingshuan's room. As the disciple of the sect master, Ning Qingxian had a very high status in the sect. Her room was the best location here. The maid pushed the door open and walked in. She saw Ning Qingxian standing in front of the window. The sunlight fell on her hair. She was as quiet as a painting. The maid was a little stunned. Xiaoya had followed Ning Qingxian for too many years. She had grown up with her since she was young. She was also the one who experienced this incident personally. Miss had lost her memory and forgotten many things. Fortunately, she still remembered her. Xiaoya, is that you? Why didn't you come in? It's me, Mississippi. You're in a daze again. Ning Qingxian turned around and looked at Xiaoya. I feel that there's a big gap in my memory, but I can't remember anything. Miss, don't be confused. If you don't understand anything, just ask me. I know everything about you. Then let me ask you, how did I lose my memory? Don't you know about this matter? You were deceived by that Lin Jun. You mistook a bad person for a good person. In the end, you were used by him to fight against the god's enchantment on the star of God's punishment. Your memory was lost when you attacked the enchantment. You should have offended the god. Liang Jihuan and the others had already formulated these words. How to say it would be flawless. Because Ning Qingxian might also inquire about some things in the dimensional universe. The fact that she pushed the planet to hit the god's enchantment was not a secret. It was impossible to not give a reasonable explanation. Lin Jun? That whole Watai Sui? That's right. Back then, this person even peeked at you bathing. Do you know about this? You can check it in the dimensional universe. Ning Qingxian nodded slightly. She had already investigated this matter. How bad is this person? He dared to do this, even though he knew you were the Empress. Fortunately, His Majesty exposed his true colors this time. Otherwise, who knows how many people would have been deceived by him. Am I already the Empress? Yes, you, but Her Majesty were very loving. It was all because of Lin Jun that your relationship was ruined. Hearing Xiaoya's words, Ning Qingxian felt a little strange. She didn't remember marrying Liang Jihuan, but she was very clear that her body was still clean. This meant that whether it was Liang Jihuan or Lin Jun, neither of them had taken her. But miss, don't worry. This time, Lin Jun is finished. The sect leader has already sent people to capture him. My master, that's right. Teacher's two younger sisters are personally taking action. I believe that they will catch Lin Jun very soon. Ning Qingxian remembered these two people. Her master, Aunt Tai, had three sisters. Aunt Tai was the eldest, while Tai Ernyang and Tai Sanyang were twins. These two people were now immortal martial artists, and their strength was very powerful. Tai Ernyang raised a super galactic beast called Tian Ting. It was a dog-type galactic beast, and it was best at tracking. Tai Sanyang had a top-grade treasure sword called Sky Slayer. The grade of this divine sword was higher than most of the treasures in existence. Any treasures that were inferior to it would be cut in half with a single slash. Therefore, there was basically no chance of winning against Tai Sanyang, because your weapon was inferior to hers. Tai Ernyang and Tai Sanyang had been in seclusion for 1,000 years. Who would have thought that Aunt Tai would bring her two younger sisters out this time? Then Lin Jun might really be finished. Miss, are you happy? The person who harmed you is about to get retribution. I just saw Tai Ernyang and Tai Sanyang go down the mountain. I guess the news of Lin Jun's execution will come out today. A forced smile appeared on Ning Qingshuan's face. She should be happy. After all, her enemy was about to be eliminated. But for some reason, she felt a faint pain in her heart. She did not feel happy at all. Maybe it's the aftereffects of my amnesia. Ning Qingxian looked out the window, her eyes lost. Ha ha! It is an honor for the two immortals to come down the mountain to help me. Tai Ernyang and Tai Sanyang faced the Emperor's laughter with gloomy faces, as if their mothers had died. They were practically carved from the same mold as Aunt Tai. "Your Majesty, cut the crap. There's no need for such conventional greetings. Send some people to help us. We will go and find Lin Jun's whereabouts." "Good. Sure, Xiao Mao. Take a guard and wait for the two immortals' orders. There's no need to report to me. Just listen to their orders. Even if they ask you to die, you're not allowed to frown." "Understood." Sure Xiao Mao took 100 world kings and followed behind Tai Ernyang and Tai Sanyang. But in his heart, he was disdainful. They were nothing more than two old witches. Just looking at them made him sick. He would rather follow his father than follow them to catch Lin Jun. Tai Ernyang and Tai Sanyang did not greet Liang Jihuan and came to the palace courtyard. Tai Ernyang raised her hand, and a huge dog that was 5 meters long and 1.5 meters tall appeared. If this dog was shrunk 10 times, it would look similar to a pet dog on Earth. It was fluffy and charmingly naive. After it appeared, it immediately wagged its tail at Tai Ernyang. The guard beside, Sure Xiao Mao laughed. Relying on this thing to catch Lin Jun did not seem very reliable. Tai Ernyang looked at the person who laughed with a knife-like gaze. "What are you laughing at?" Tai Ernyang's gaze made the guard quiver. He immediately put on a straight face. "I just think that this dog is too cute. I'm afraid." Tai Ernyang pointed at the guard and said to Tian Ting, "Go. Eat him." The charmingly naive Tian Ting suddenly exploded. He shot over like a bolt of lightning. His round front paws revealed sharp claws that were even more terrifying than knives. The guard instinctively wanted to block, but he only saw a flash of light, and his body was cut into pieces by Tian Ting. Tian Ting pounced over, opened his mouth, and chewed. Soon, the guard was completely eaten. This caused everyone present to break out in a cold sweat. When they looked at the round dog and the blood on the ground, they no longer dared to underestimate it. Liang Jihuan frowned slightly and did not say anything. It was just a guard. If he died, then so be it. "All right, my little darling is full. Then let's get to work. Help me find this person. Where is he?" Liang Jihuan had already collected some fragments of Lin Jun's genes. Together with a drawing, he placed it in front of Tian Ting. Tian Ting opened his mouth and swallowed the item that had a bit of Lin Jun's genes. This item included skin, blood, hair, and other items. Liang Jihuan could collect them if he wanted to. After swallowing, Tian Ting lay on the ground and closed his eyes as if he had fallen asleep. The guards no longer dared to question Tian Ting's ability. They all quietly waited at the side. After about 10 minutes, Tian Ting opened his eyes and stood up. He roared a few times at the back of the palace. Then, he spread his claws and quickly flew towards the harem. Seeing this scene, almost everyone was shocked. Could it be that Lin Jun was in the palace? Liang Jihuan's face turned cold. Although he did not have any concubines in the harem, if Lin Jun was really here and he did not know, then this kid was too daring. "Follow him. Look carefully." Tian Ting ran faster and faster. Tai Ernyang turned her head back as she tried to catch up. "You guys spread out and block the main roads. Don't give Lin Jun any chance to escape. You don't have to fight. Sanyang and I are enough." Originally, Liang Jihuan had called back Shi Zhonglie and the others, hoping that they could help. Hearing Tai Ernyang's words, Shi Zhonglie and the others slowed down. "Fine, since you people from the Green Leaf sect are so arrogant, then I'll let you fight. We'll watch." The large group of people quickly moved forward and quickly arrived at a place. After seeing this, Liang Jihuan's eyelids twitched. No wonder they could not find Lin Jun anywhere. It turned out that he was hiding here. There was no way to find him. Everyone raised their heads and smelled the fragrance of medicine coming from the room. This was the royal medicine storehouse. Other than a few guards, there were also a few caretakers. If Lin Jun were to impersonate one of them and hide here, she would definitely be able to hide for a long time. Tian Ting stood in front of the storehouse and roared, proving that Lin Jun was inside. "Go in. Search for me. Don't miss a single corner." Liang Jihuan forgot about Tai Ernyang and Tai Sanyang's words and was the first to rush in. There were too many precious things here. He had to take a look. Tai Sanyang raised her hand and seemed to pull out a long gray sword from her spine. When this long sword appeared, the surrounding people could not help but dodge. This was because the killing intent on the sword was too strong. Even from far away, they could still feel the sword's light piercing their skin. Tai Yang held the dragon-head walking stick and led Tian Ting. The two old women walked up the stairs step by step and entered the royal medicine storehouse. Liang Jihuan ran the fastest. He was very worried that his medicine storehouse would be robbed. After entering, a few of the servants who were organizing the medicine were stunned. They did not know who this big scene was for. "Greetings, Your Majesty." "Long live Your Majesty. Don't talk nonsense." "Everyone, stand up." Liang Jihuan raised his hand and stopped these people from bowing. He shouted loudly, "Everyone spread out and stand. We are looking for the criminal, Lin Jun. Everyone cooperate." These servants immediately panicked and scattered in all directions in a hubbub. Seeing that they were in a mess, the head of the medicine storehouse came to help. "You go and stand there too. Now everyone is a suspect. Wait for that dog to come in and identify." Liang Jihuan looked at the medicine cabinets in the distance and saw that many of them were empty. He was furious. "Yes, Your Majesty. Your subordinate will come over now." The head of the servants did not go far. Instead, he quickly moved closer to Liang Jihuan. Liang Jihuan was also an immortal master. He was also very sensitive to danger. When he saw the head of the servants approaching, he suddenly felt a sense of danger. "Be careful, Your Majesty." Sure, Zhonglia saw clearly from behind. There was definitely something wrong with the head of the servants. Tai Yang and Tai Sanyang attacked at the same time. They wanted to take down Lin Jun before he made his move. Liang Jihuan took the lead. In other words, he and this Lin Jun, disguised as the head of the servants, attacked together. He attacked with a strong sword aura. Chapter 738. Lin Jun did not expect that he would be discovered so quickly. All of his actions were carefully planned and carefully thought out. From a moment he blended into the crowd of demonstrators, Lin Jun had carefully thought about every step he took. Only by blending into the crowd could he safely escape. And if he wanted to hide, the palace was a very good choice. Lin Jun could restrain his aura, and he had the shape-shifting skill. Furthermore, he also had the soul lock and other methods to cooperate. It was almost impossible for anyone to discover him hiding in the palace. After arriving at the palace, Lin Jun chose the royal medicinal warehouse. First, he found an opportunity to lock the soul of the leader of the medicinal warehouse and make him confess everything. Then, Lin Jun killed him and disguised himself as him to sneak into the medicinal warehouse. He never thought that he would stay here for long. In Lin Jun's plan, when he was able to transfer his star power and consume the divine power pill again, he would make a move, cause a big fuss, and then take Xian Air away. Therefore, after arriving at the medicinal warehouse, Lin Jun used all kinds of names to start plundering the medicinal herbs. The variety of medicinal herbs here also made Lin Jun very satisfied. After being here for 3 days, he had already emptied half of the medicinal warehouse. Lin Jun even took all of the top-grade medicinal herbs. If anyone had any doubts, Lin Jun would simply and crudely lock their soul, completely turning them into his own people. But he did not expect to be discovered so quickly. And the one who discovered Lin Jun was not a human, but a strange dog. Tian Ting, this kind of divine beast that was good at tracking, was indeed amazing. With just a bit of genes, it could find Lin Jun's location and attract a large number of enemies. Lin Jun was also secretly complaining in his heart. This time, there were quite a few immortal warriors. Those two monster-like old women brought a lot of pressure to Lin Jun. They were enemies that were beyond his current range of ability. Without checking the star power or experimenting, Lin Jun knew that these two immortal-level old women were even stronger than Qin Jianfeng, who had taken drugs. The gap between an immortal and a world king could be described as huge. Lin Jun was able to kill Madman mainly because his mental state was not very good. He thought that he could rely on the vitality of an immortal level to kill Lin Jun, but in the end, he was killed by Lin Jun. Without a doubt, there would be no such opportunity today. Therefore, Lin Jun simply hoped that he could kill Liang Jihuan with the first strike. In an instant, The hall was filled with energy. A huge planet rushed out with a rumble, and the powerful airflow immediately collapsed the hall door and walls. Standing at the center of Lin Zhen's attack, Liang Jihuan's expression was solemn. The long sword in his hand emitted a bright sword light. This sword contained all of his skills. He did not believe that he, an immortal level, would lose to Lin Zhen, a domain monarch. The sword aura and the planet met. Stalemate. Destruction. Lin Zhen underestimated Liang Jihuan. After all, he was an immortal warrior. The sword aura actually penetrated the planet and hit Lin Zhen across space. Liang Jihuan also underestimated Lin Zhen. Planet Fall was Lin Zhen's current strongest technique. Even without the star power transfer, Lin Zhen was currently using 100% of his star power. This 9 million star power was equivalent to 18 million star power. Although it was penetrated by the sword aura, the planet continued to rumble forward and sent Liang Jihuan flying. When rivals in love met, their eyes blazed with jealousy. No one would have thought that the first move to capture Lin Zhen would be the emperor himself. Liang Jihuan spat out a mouthful of blood in the air, but he had a smug smile on his face. This was because he believed that Lin Zhen's injuries should be more serious than his. Lin Zhen, how dare you go against the emperor? Today, I will kill you with my own hands. With that, he turned back and said to Tai Ernyang and Tai Sanyang, who were charging over, "Fairies, please don't interfere. I have some personal grudges with this kid. Today, we will settle them together." Shi Xiao Mao broadcast. Tai Ernyang and company were clearly in an advantageous position. As long as they attacked together, there was no need to worry about not being able to take down Lin Zhen. However, when they heard Liang Jihuan's words, the two old women still hesitated. The matter of the emperor being cuckolded by Lin Zhen was known throughout the world. This matter was both praised and criticized. Some said that the emperor was upright, and that there was nothing he could say to others. There were also those who mocked the emperor for not being able to watch his wife and making a fool of himself. However, regardless of what others said, Liang Jihuan and Lin Zhen could be described as having a blood feud. The grudge of killing one's father and stealing one's wife had to be avenged. Hence, if they were to forcefully take action at this moment, not only would they not gain any benefits, they might even incur the emperor's hatred. They knew that they could not do things according to their wishes. During this moment of delay, Liang Jihuan had already charged out once again. Under the emperor's orders, everyone hid far away and began recording a live broadcast. This was probably the most popular video since the founding of the Southern Liang. The emperor personally went into battle and fought his love rival. This was such a hot gimmick. In an instant, not only in the Southern Liang, but also in the entire Daliang, including all the countries bordering Daliang, it was broadcasted at the same time. Even within the Dimensional Universe, it was spread like wildfire. The Dimensional Universe Corporation was good at this. The news spread extremely quickly. The entire primordial realm was boundless and vast. Many things happened every day. Hot topics were updated almost all the time. Even the battle on the Star of God's Punishment only occupied the headlines twice before it was pushed down. After all, the Star of God Punishment was so long that it could not be watched all the time. However, the battle video this time actually shot to the top of the Hot Topics list. This was not just a battle. It was a melodramatic, gossipy, and romantic story. The onlookers looked as if they had been injected with chicken blood as they watched the emperor go into battle with his bare arms. Liang Jihuan charged over once again, and Lin Zhen stood up straight. The lethality of an immortal warrior was indeed shocking. Although this attack hit both sides, Lin Zhen's injuries were more serious. Liang Jihuan's star power was definitely above 20 million. It was even close to 30 million. On Lin Zhen's chest, there was a huge wound that was so deep that his bones could be seen. Fortunately, he had the immortal spirit body. The lotus appeared for a moment and blocked this fatal attack. Then, his body recovered quickly. In a second, his injuries were almost half healed. When Liang Jihuan charged over again with his sword, Lin Zhen attacked with his mirage sword. Taiyuan, a A spatial crack appeared, and the house began to collapse. Liang Jihuan did not expect Lin Jun to be able to launch such a fierce attack. He immediately waved his sword to block, and the two of them began an intense battle. Neither of them could retreat from this battle because they could not afford to lose. No matter who they lost to, they could not lose to their love rival. This was the bottom line of a man. Although it was a little childish, most men would do this. Therefore, the battle became white-hot from the beginning. It was also the first time that Lin Jun fought to the death with an immortal warrior in front of others. From this moment on, Lin Jun had no way out. He had already fought with the emperor. Would the southern Liang still tolerate him? Lin Jun did not care about this. He did not have any good feelings towards the emperor. He took a deep breath and stopped breathing. The sword in his hand turned into a sword storm, and the lotus flashed on his body. If he could use the lotus to block the attack, he would use the lotus to block it. If the lotus could not block it, he would use his body to block it. In short, there was only one point. Just fight. Just fight. Just fight. The area 3 feet in front of him was his forbidden zone. Even if he fell, he would not back down in front of Liang Jihuan. Even if you injure me with a sword, I will return the favor with a sword. Liang Jihuan was also holding back his anger towards Lin Jun. In his heart, he imagined countless times how he would beat Lin Jun up if Lin Jun was in front of him. Now that he really saw it, this feeling exploded to the peak. Lin Jun, I will make you regret being a human. Puffed, puffed, puffed. The two of them fought face to face without any fancy moves. It was obvious that the immortal warrior had a huge advantage. Blood constantly bloomed on Lin Jun's body as he was continuously injured. Although Lin Jun was ruthless enough, he also gave Liang Jihuan a few slashes. That was because Liang Jihuan refused to back down and dodge. In terms of strength, the immortal warrior had the absolute advantage. Tai Ernyang and Tai Sanyang, who were originally a little worried, were also slightly relieved. It seemed that they did not need to fight today. The two men gritted their teeth and held back their anger. Neither of them was willing to lose this round first. It was as if losing this round meant losing the war. This Lin Jun was also ruthless. His body was continuously hit by dozens of slashes, but he stood firmly in front of the collapsed medicinal herb storehouse. He lowered his waist and sat in a horse stance to defend the area 3 feet around him. He did not let Liang Jihuan take a single step forward for an entire minute. The two of them fought without breathing. The veins on their foreheads were already popping out. In this kind of close combat where they disregarded life and death, even if Liang Jihuan had the strength, he would still have been hit 7 or 8 times. Gradually, he felt that it was difficult to move. Lin Jun, I don't believe it. Right now, whoever was discouraged would lose. In order to turn his advantage into victory, Liang Jihuan also threw caution to the wind. He could not lose. He could not lose in front of the entire country. He had to personally trample his love rival under his feet. With a brazen slash, Liang Jihuan opened up an opening. His left hand was faintly protecting his heart. He actually charged forward with his sword. With this slash, Lin Jun would die if he did not retreat. Just when everyone thought that Liang Jihuan was about to win, no one expected that Lin Jun would be so stubborn. He raised his sword with both hands and stabbed towards Liang Jihuan's opening. Tai Ernyang and the rest shook their heads slightly. This Lin Jun was only SOSO after injuring the enemy with a single slash. Pooh! Pooh! The sound of swords piercing flesh made people's gums ache. Both of them had their swords pierced through their chests at the same time. Liang Jihuan was still a little more skilled. His sword pierced through Lin Jun's heart, while his own was only pierced through his abdomen. Lin Jun's injury was fatal, but his was not. The breath that he had been holding back was finally released. Liang Jihuan looked up to the sky and laughed loudly. Ha! 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 Lin Jun, you are really laughable. You actually dared to fight to the death with me. I am the true dragon of the world. This southern Liang's mountains, and millions of people are mine. I have the protection of the heavens. What do you have to fight me with? This scene was very shocking. Two men pierced their swords into each other's chests. Their bodies were covered in blood. It was a shocking scene that struck the hearts of people. The forum was filled with cheers. They were celebrating their emperor's killing of his love rival. This was a display of the emperor's might. At this moment, Lin Jun, whose heart had been pierced, suddenly opened his eyes. Hey! A mouthful of blood was spat onto Liang Jihuan's face. Lin Jun suddenly flew up and kicked Liang Jihuan's chest. This kind of street fighting style actually had a miraculous effect at this moment. Liang Jihuan was caught off guard and was kicked down from the palace entrance by Lin Jun. He landed heavily 7 to 8 meters away, like a broken sandbag. After sending the son of heaven flying with a kick, the mountain-shattering spear appeared in his hand. With a shake of the spear, it shone brilliantly. The tip of the spear shot out and locked onto Liang Jihuan's throat. Lin Jun exerted force with his feet and was about to kill the emperor in front of everyone in this grand live broadcast. Chapter 739. This sudden turn of events caught everyone off guard. Lin Sanjiu didn't die after her heart was pierced, and she even launched such a powerful attack. Liang Jihuan was caught off guard. It was as if he had fallen from heaven to hell. Before Liang Jihuan could get up, he was already enveloped by Lin Jun's spear. With this strike, the immortal-level emperor of southern Liang would die. It could be said that Liang Jihuan had already lost this battle. He had lost because of his arrogance and Lin Jun's strong vitality. The primordial realm was huge, and regicide had happened before. However, it was unprecedented for a domain monarch to kill an immortal level in front of everyone. The spear fell, and Liang Jihuan was about to die. Clang! Tai Sanyang drew a sword mark with her hand, and it hit Lin Jun's mountain crusher spear. Lin Jun had spent a lot of money to purchase this spear, and it was definitely much better than the yin yang and distant spears. He didn't even have the chance to use it on the star of divine punishment. However, Tai Sanyang had actually chopped off the spear's head. The spear had turned into a staff. Lin Jun didn't even bat an eyelid at this outcome. The spear continued to move forward. Clang! The staff turned into a staff, and another section was chopped off. He continued to move forward. Another sword light flashed past, and the staff turned into a rolling pin. This rolling pin couldn't kill anyone anymore. Tai Sanyang's sword was too fast. If Lin Jun continued to move forward, his arm would be chopped off next time. Lin Jun didn't continue to move forward. Instead, he opened his palm slightly. Gravity! Liang Jihuan, who was close at hand, was caught off guard. His body suddenly leaned forward. Not only did he block Tai Sanyang's sword path, but his chest also collided heavily with Lin Jun's rolling pin. With a grunt, Liang Jihuan was furious. He raised his hand and punched Lin Jun. Lin Jun didn't say anything and threw a backhand punch. Although he had taken Liang Jihuan's punch, this punch had also almost blown out Liang Jihuan's eyeballs. In the fierce battle between the two sides, Liang Jihuan had already lost completely. The moment when he was on the verge of death had actually left a shadow in his heart. Fortunately, Tai Sanyang attacked again at this time. She had already seen that although the emperor was stronger than Lin Jun, he lacked combat experience. Moreover, he was suppressed by Lin Jun's ferocious aura. If they continued to fight, it wouldn't end well, so she might as well directly attack. This was also what Lin Jun was most worried about. At this moment, he had no choice but to use the yin-yang spear to counter Tai Sanyang's attack. Protect the emperor. Shi Zhonglia led a group of guards to stop Liang Jihuan, who still wanted to charge forward. This almost angered Liang Jihuan to death. He had originally wanted to kill Lin Jun together with Tai Sanyang, but the guards had come to interfere. In this way, even if he killed Lin Jun in the end, he would still lose. His chest was stuffy, and it was abnormally uncomfortable. At this moment, even if he wanted to intervene, there was no room for him to do so. The surroundings were filled with crisscrossing sword chi. Tai Sanyang's swift sword was simply unapproachable. Lin Jun, who was in the middle of the whirlpool of sword chi, was even more miserable. He didn't even know Tai Sanyang's exact strength. Just this one move alone was unbearable. In a short time, the yin-yang spear followed in the footsteps of the mountain crusher and was cut into scrap metal by Tai Sanyang. Lin Jun could only use the edge spear again, but the result was the same. The three spears were all cut in half by Tai Sanyang, and his own phantom light sword was still stuck in Liang Jihuan's abdomen. Although Liang Jihuan's sword was also stuck in his chest, Lin Zhen did not dare to pull out. Although he had the immortal spirit body, pulling out the sword was still a dangerous thing to do, especially in the middle of a battle. Throwing the broken-edged spear in his hand as a hidden weapon, Lin Zhen jumped up, wanting to escape into the distance. Want to leave? It's too late. Tai Sanyang's sparse eyebrows stood up, and a fierce expression appeared on her old face. Her sky-rending sword attacked fiercely again. Ding, ding, ding! The seven-star blades became Lin Zhen's life-saving tools at this moment. They attacked Tai Sanyang one after another to buy him time to escape. But under the attack of the sky-rending sword, the seven-star blades lost their former power. Their luster dimmed as they flew back. Fortunately, they were not cut in half. When the seventh blade was sent back, Lin Zhen had already risen into the air. These blades were not useless. At the very least, Tai Sanyang's body had been slowed down by the attacks. Lin Zhen now had a chance. Who? A dragon-headed walking stick swept over again. Tai Ernyang, who had been watching from the side, had made her move. The strength of a longevity warrior was indeed strong. Even if Lin Zhen was at his peak, he might not be a match for Tai Ernyang or Tai Sanyang, let alone now. There was no way to dodge this attack, and his body suffered a heavy blow. The sound of bones breaking rang out, and Lin Zhen spat out a mouthful of blood. However, he borrowed the force of this attack to fly further. Roar! Lin Zhen, who had originally wanted to escape, felt a sharp pain in his leg. He had actually been bitten by the big dog, Tian Ting. Partial armor transformation. His leg immediately became thick, and scales appeared on it, blocking Tian Ting's attempt to bite off his leg. However, after such a delay, Tai Sanyang once again attacked with her sword. Tai Ernyang once again waved her dragon-headed walking stick and attacked from another direction. The people below looked at the sky and saw Tai Ernyang and Tai Sanyang's joint attack. They could not help but sigh. These two old women were indeed very strong. Lin Zhen did not stand a chance against the two of them. The long sword and the dragon-headed walking stick moved the wind and clouds. It seemed that Lin Zhen would not be able to withstand this attack and die. Lin Zhen fiercely gritted his teeth. He knew that the moment of life and death had arrived. Right now, he could not use star teleportation, nor could he use the God Power pill. It could be said that his strength was at its lowest. Right now, there were strong enemies on both sides. There was also a damn dog called Tian Ting dragging him down. The situation was extremely dangerous. At this moment, Lin Zhen's mind was abnormally clear. He first waved his hand and released the two-headed demonic dragon. At the same time, he shot a ball of light energy into the sky. After the two-headed demonic dragon appeared, it immediately flew into the depths of the starry sky, as if its life depended on it. It did not pay attention to Lin Zhen at all. In the sky, the two-headed demonic dragon flew away. The ball of white light also dazzled people's eyes, making it difficult for them to see clearly. There were also people monitoring the sky. There were even cannons ready to fire, but at this moment, they did not know if they were going to attack the demonic dragon. Because their goal was to prevent Lin Zhen from flying away, they did not know if the demonic dragon was flying away to intercept it. At this moment, Tai Ernyang's old face revealed a sinister smile. Lin Zhen, you still want to escape? Your demon pet has abandoned you and fled for its life. You can stay here. The sword chi and dragon-headed walking stick arrived. Lin Zhen's mind moved again. His clone resolutely went to meet Tai Ernyang's dragon-headed walking stick. It was a loud bang. The clone was directly half-crippled by the attack. It spun and flew back. The nascent soul was released. It went to meet Tai Sanyang's sky-slashing sword. The nascent soul, which ignored physical attacks, passed through the sword chi. It held a spear in its hand and met Tai Sanyang's spiritual sea. How dare you release your nascent soul? Wait for me to use my nascent soul to block it. I'll use my nascent soul to kill it completely. Tai Sanyang was frustrated. She was about to kill Lin Zhen, but the nascent soul stopped her. At this moment, Yang also realized something. She shouted, Tian Ting, hold Lin Jun tightly. The big dog shook its head desperately. Its huge body shook Lin Jun's body, making it impossible for Lin Jun to do anything. Lin Jun was going all out at this moment. The snow lotus bloomed. It bloomed in Tian Ting's mouth. The big dog's mouth was stuffed open by the snow lotus. It could not close it for a while. Tian Ting's mouth was blocked by the snow lotus. It could not bite Lin Jun again. Lin Jun finally broke free from this thing's entanglement. The nascent soul and the clone retreated. Lin Jun's palm turned into armor. He clawed at Tian Ting's forehead and tore off a piece of the big dog's flesh. The sword chi and the walking stick's aura came from afar again, but their power was not as strong as before. This time, the snow lotus bloomed on Lin Jun's body and took the hit head-on. With the help of the snow lotus and the immortal spirit body, this attack did not take Lin Jun's life. Instead, it sent Lin Jun's body into the sky again. Or rather, this was what Lin Jun had planned. He borrowed the power of the opponent's attack and rose into the sky on his snow lotus. He actually went straight into the depths of space. Anti-air artillery locked onto him and hit him hard. Liang Jihuan, who had been watching the battle from behind, shouted loudly. The anti-air artillery in the sky above the palace was still very powerful. Even if it was not enough to kill Lin Jun completely, it would be enough to delay him and buy Tai Ernyang and Tai Sanyang time to chase after him. As the emperor, he had been humiliated today. How could he be satisfied if he did not kill Lin Jun? The anti-air artillery had been prepared long ago. They did not even attack Lin Jun's magic pet. They had been waiting for this moment to bombard Lin Jun. As expected, the opportunity they had been waiting for had arrived. In an instant, tens of thousands of cannons were fired at the same time. Tai Ernyang and Tai Sanyang quickly approached from below. As long as the artillery stopped Lin Jun for a second, they would be able to make him stay. At this moment, the artillery in the sky rumbled. No one noticed that there was a long thread on Lin Jun's back. The other end of the thread was the two-headed devil dragon that had already gone deep into space. This was the light demon that Lin Jun had tied to the two-headed devil dragon when he released it. The light demon had been pulled into a thread, an extremely thin metal thread. The light energy that Lin Jun had shot into the sky just now was to block other people's vision and conceal the existence of the thread. The moment the artillery sounded, the thread quickly shrunk. Lin Jun was like a violently retracted spring. He was fiercely pulled into the depths of space. Tai Ernyang and Tai Sanyang's attacks finally missed. When they rushed out of the area of artillery fire, they could only see a small black duck quickly disappearing from their sight. Chase! Chase after him! We definitely can't let this brat escape. We definitely can't let him escape. Liang Jihuan shouted from below. He even wanted to take the initiative to chase after him. Sure, Zhonglia held onto Liang Jihuan tightly. Lin Jun was sinister and cunning. The emperor might be in danger if he chased after him. Tai Ernyang slightly closed her eyes. That magic pet is very fast. We won't be able to catch up in a short period of time. The emperor should bear with it. Chapter 740. The battle in the palace ended with Liang Jihuan fainting on the spot and Lin Jun successfully escaping. It was a miracle that Lin Jun was able to escape alive from the siege of 3 immortal warriors, especially when Tai Ernyang and Tai Sanyang were among the 3 immortal warriors. Ting Tian led the way, and the divine sword showed off its might. Unfortunately, Lin Jun escaped in the end, and all their efforts were for naught. This incident caused a small commotion in the dimensional universe once again. While everyone was guessing where Lin Jun could have run to, they were also unscrupulously mocking the Southern Liang royal family and the Greenleaf sect. Wasn't it a joke that 3 immortals couldn't capture a domain monarch together? Of course, there were many objective factors involved, but it also proved how powerful this domain monarch was. Some people had already started to give Lin Jun the title of the world's #1 domain monarch. The strength, wisdom, courage, and so on that he displayed in the battle were all praiseworthy. Some people even said that since Liang Jihuan lost to Lin Jun this time, he would also lose to his woman in the future. Liang Jihuan wasn't unconscious for long. Immortal warriors weren't as weak as ordinary people. He was only momentarily angered and woke up very quickly. After waking up, Liang Jihuan immediately made the decision to continue chasing after Lin Jun. This time, the emperor was really angry. Billions of troops from the southern Liang were mobilized. The neighboring countries, including Daliang, Great Zhou, and Great Wei, not only sent troops to assist, but they also opened up surveillance cameras in the sky at the same time. The troops stationed in space sealed off the starry sky to prevent Lin Jun from escaping into the endless sea of stars. The Greenleaf sect, which was deeply embarrassed, also sent many experts to join in the capture this time. The manpower, resources, and funds used this time were already astronomical. However, as long as they could capture Lin Jun, Liang Jihuan felt that it was all worth it. Of course, the biggest threat to Lin Jun was Tai Ernyang's Heaven Listener. The Heaven Listener was still leading Tai Ernyang and Tai Sanyang in pursuit. However, this time, Lin Jun's aura was very weak. The Heaven Listener wasn't as useful as before. After a 10-day search, one thing was finally confirmed. Lin Jun had no chance to escape into the endless sea of stars under the lockdown. There were even surveillance cameras that captured Lin Jun returning to the surface. Therefore, the focus of the search once again returned to the surface. This was an order personally given by the emperor because, in his opinion, Lin Jun could not have gone far. He must still be in southern Liang. A large number of troops began a carpet search. The entire country was mobilized, and all law enforcement officers cooperated with the military. They would not give up until they caught Lin Jun. But Lin Jun was like a stone sinking into the sea. Occasionally, Tian Ting would find some traces of Lin Jun, but they would quickly disappear. The search became more and more difficult. Liang Jihuan simply placed a sky-high bounty on Lin Jun's head. 300 billion. Capturing Lin Jun was a reward of 300 billion. Providing clues about Lin Jun was a reward of at least 10 billion. With such a great reward, there would always be brave men. For this money, Lin Jun would have nowhere to hide. Liang Jihuan concluded that Lin Jun was still living among the masses. With so much money, anyone around him could betray him. Lin Jun's days couldn't be considered too good. After his battle with Tai Ernyang and Tai Sanyang, Lin Jun had already realized the disparity between him and a longevity martial artist. If he could transfer his star power, Lin Jun wouldn't be afraid of Liang Jihuan. But those two old witches were on the same level. Even with star power transfer, he wasn't a match for them. If he wanted to win this battle, Lin Jun's only way was to advance to the World King realm. If it was before, Lin Jun would have decisively chosen to advance. This was because he felt that he had already reached the peak of the Domain King realm. Even if there was a gap, it would be very small. There was no need to wait. But after absorbing the memories of Madman, this longevity martial artist, Lin Jun knew one thing. World Stone, World King, was a transformation process from the star field to the star world. Other than the expansion of the Milky Way, there would also be a real world in the body. This real world was the core of the World King. It was different from the dark star space, which was created by chance. The core of the inner world was the World Stone. The large amount of universe crystals that Lin Jun had obtained from Yinjun World King were actually World Stones. Generally speaking, the first condition for becoming a World King was the size of the World Stone. The larger the World Stone, the greater the star force it contained. The smaller the World Stone, the less star force it contained. The formation of a World Stone was when a peak domain king stepped into the World King realm. At this stage, when the heavens and earth were split apart, universe crystals were born and the World Stone appeared. But through Madman's memories, Lin Jun obtained an unexpected piece of news. There was a possibility that a World Stone could be condensed first. This was a passage that Madman had seen in an ancient text. Because of this, martial artists must break through 10 million star force before they reach the World King realm. They must do everything they can to increase their star force. Those with a world within their body, when they are about to step into the World King realm, they can store a massive amount of universe crystals in their inner world. With the help of powerful flames, they can condense a world stone ahead of time. If a world stone is successfully condensed, it will bring about an additional increase in star force. This was a very objective passage. Breaking through 10 million star force before becoming a world king was only a legend. It was said that if one could reach 10 million star force before they became a world king, something wonderful would happen. There was even a chance that a martial skill would appear. Some genius martial artists would do everything they could to increase their star force in order to pursue this goal. But how could it be so easy to reach 10 million star force? Let alone 10 million star force. Even 1 million star force was a very high threshold for most people. When a new territories passed the heavenly gate, the standard for a domain king was 1 million star force. Only those with this amount of star force could pass the heavenly gate, which showed how difficult it was. Lin Jun was definitely at the top of the domain kings. At least until now, he hadn't met a domain king who could be compared to him. After many coincidences, he obtained the dark star space, which now provided him with 5 million star force. This included the ominous star map, the snow lotus, the space-time wander flower, and even the immortal spirit body. How many coincidences were there to create each of these? Take the immortal spirit body, for example. From the star of divine punishment until now, he was the only one who had obtained it. Even so, Lin Jun only had 9 million star force. Therefore, for a domain king to have 10 million star force was basically a legend. However, Lin Jun was tempted. With 10 million star force, he could possibly obtain a talent martial technique. Lin Jun was very much looking forward to this. His star force had already reached 9 million, so of course he had to strive for it. Furthermore, this request wasn't difficult to complete. It was to accumulate universe crystals, which wasn't difficult for Lin Jun. It might be difficult in the new territories because universe crystals were very expensive, but in the primordial realm, universe crystals were not much more expensive than ores. After hearing this news, Lin Jun decided to give it a try. No matter what, he had to exceed 10 million star force before becoming a domain king. Of course, this wasn't the most important thing now. Collecting universe crystals was easy, and Lin Jun also had powerful flames. This wasn't a problem. His problem was to survive safely. The people who were chasing after Lin Jun were like a swarm of hornets, covering the sky and covering the earth. Lin Jun also had some insights on how to shake off Tian Ting's pursuit. He had to put his original body into the dark star space and then move around with his clone outside. Tian Ting could track the aura of Lin Jun's original body, but it wouldn't work after the clone appeared. After knowing this secret, Lin Jun's life became slightly better. He only had to be wary of people. In the capital city of southern Liang, there was a small dojo in the northeast district. It could also be said that it was not a martial arts center. It was just a teaching class that specialized in swordsmanship. Moreover, it was swordsmanship for low-level martial artists. The dojo master was a Nebula Level 7 warrior, and the instructors were all in the Nebula stage. The students here were mainly below the black hole stage and were ordinary warriors from all over the countryside. These warriors came to southern Liang to work for a living. If the young people or children among them learned swordsmanship, they would be sent to such a dojo. High-level warriors had their own world, but most of the people in this world were still low-level warriors. This kind of place was closer to the lives of ordinary people. If this was on Earth, this would be a primary school for migrant workers in a big city. This day, a new student arrived in the class. It was a young man who looked less than 18 years old. The young man's name was Su Qinggan, and he was a level 9 planet warrior. He had delicate features and did not like to talk. He had only signed up for 2 classes here. One was the basics of swordsmanship, and the other was the theory of cross-level combat. He spent the rest of his time studying. Because of the young man's handsomeness, several girls in the class would take the initiative to pay attention to him. However, Su Qinggan never talked much with anyone. He only focused on class. He was a rare good student. Cross-level combat refers to cross-level challenges. It's extremely difficult to challenge someone one level above you. But if you succeed, it proves that you have extraordinary talent that ordinary people do not have. The Nebula Level 1 instructor was lecturing loudly in front of the class, explaining classic examples of cross-level challenges. The students below were listening carefully. The Star of Divine Punishment was even the main topic. Lin Jun had challenged a large group of world kings and won in the end. It was indeed very attractive. Putting aside Lin Jun's character, there is no doubt about his strength. Let's take a look at his battle process and then analyze it one by one. Su Qinggan closed his eyes slightly. Couldn't they change the example? He really did not want to listen to this process. After a comprehensive analysis, the necessary condition for cross-level challenges is the accumulation of experience. As long as your strength is getting stronger, there is a possibility of cross-level challenges. Another point is comprehension. Comprehension of swordsmanship and martial arts that you can't usually learn. This kind of situation tends to happen more often in battle, so we advocate actual combat. Speaking of this, the teacher paused. I personally think that Lin Jun's swordsmanship is still lacking. If he really mastered the profound meaning of swordsmanship, he even has the ability to kill Chang Sheng. Hearing this, Su Qinggan's slightly closed eyes suddenly opened. Chapter 741. Su Qinggan opened his eyes when he heard this. He knew that what he wanted to hear was here. Su Qinggan was naturally Lin Jun. He had changed his name at the last minute and was also a combination of the names of his wives. The entire city was looking for him now, but Lin Jun would not be caught at all. He changed his name, used a clone to hide from Tian Ting's pursuit, and used the transfiguration technique to change his appearance. With the immortal spirit body, he could control his aura 100% and disguise himself as whatever realm he wanted. Learning the basics of Sword Dao was nothing more than a cover-up. What he really wanted to learn was how to challenge those of a higher realm. Through the previous battle, Lin Jun believed that if he were to face a longevity martial artist, he would have to have a more powerful method. This technique was the 6th move of his Taiyuan sword technique, Life Extinction. During this period of time, Lin Jun had been constantly hiding. There were a few times when he was nearly discovered. Instinctively, he felt somewhat fearful. He was worried that the longevity cultivators would find him. If that happened, he would be in big trouble. This little bit of fear caused Lin Jun's current state of mind to be a little lacking. He knew that he had made a mistake. Even when facing a powerful enemy that was difficult to defeat, he had to maintain a strong fighting spirit and will at all times. This might not be a problem for other warriors, but it was a problem for Lin Jun, who had been pursuing a perfect breakthrough. If he could not eliminate his fear of immortal warriors at the domain monarch realm, it would definitely affect his breakthrough in future. There is only one way to eliminate this fear at the domain monarch realm. Learn the 6th move of the Taiyuan sword technique, Life Extinction. The Taiyuan sword technique did not require a high amount of star power to execute, but it required a deep understanding of the sword technique. Lin Jun learned the spear and did not have a deep understanding of the sword technique. After asking around, he found out that there was an instructor in Hepping Dojo who taught some sword techniques, so he came. This instructor was the instructor in front of him. This person was called Li Mo. His realm was not high, and his background was not good, but Lin Jun could tell at a glance that this person had a deep understanding of the Sword Dao. Therefore, he stayed here to listen to this person's lecture while collecting cosmos crystals. Upon hearing this, Lin Jun immediately asked, "Teacher, how do you think Lin Jun will be able to kill the longevity warrior with his sword arts?" Li Mo nodded. "Good question. I will analyze it for everyone." Then, Li Mo pointed to Lin Jun on the big screen. We can see through the God's Punishment Star battle and the Palace battle that Lin Jun's star power is at least 7 million, and he is still improving. Plus, after getting the super godly body, he should be able to use 90% of his star power. That way, he will have at least 15 million stars to use. With a swipe of his finger, the screen flipped to the next page, and the scene of Lin Jun fighting against Emperor Liang Jihuan appeared. In the process of Lin Jun's battle with the Emperor, his sword arts did not have the desired effect. Instead, his spear arts seemed to be stronger than his sword arts. However, if his sword arts were good enough, Tai Sanyang would not even have the chance to rescue the emperor. Lin Jun's current situation would definitely be much better. Lin Jun agreed. If he had really killed Liang Jihuan, Southern Liang would definitely be in chaos for a long time. With the power of the Green Leaf sect alone, they would not be able to catch him and hide everywhere. Based on the sword arts that Lin Jun displayed, I can judge that his sword arts have not reached a profound level. Then what is he lacking? What he lacks is sword intent. A student below asked, "Teacher, what is sword intent?" Sword intent is a feeling. It is hard to explain. How about this? I will demonstrate it to you. Hearing this, the students became excited. Teacher Li Mo's demonstration of sword intent was very famous. In fact, they could not fight beyond their level in this class. To a large extent, it was to observe sword intent. Lin Jun also straightened his back and sat there quietly, waiting. Li Mo stood in front of the students with his hands behind his back and closed his eyes. The atmosphere in the room suddenly became silent. The air seemed to be a little sticky. The students unconsciously became nervous, not daring to breathe loudly. They held their breaths and looked at Li Mo with rapt attention. Lin Jun's senses were even more acute. He closed his eyes and even felt a slight sound in the air. Sword chi. Sword chi shuttled through the air. "Open your eyes," Li Mo suddenly roared. The students widened their eyes, but they felt that they could not open their eyes. This was because the biting cold in the air made their hair stand on end. My face is broken. Sword chi is stabbing me. Quickly see if I am bleeding. Teacher, are you going to do something to me? The students cried out one by one. Some even covered their faces or bodies, feeling that they'd been hit by a sword. At this moment, in Lin Jun's eyes, Li Mo was a sword that was about to be unsheathed, ready to attack at any time. Li Mo smiled slightly, and the oppressive atmosphere instantly disappeared. Take a closer look at your bodies. Are you injured in any way? If you are injured, don't look for me because I didn't cause any harm to you. The students were also stunned. They looked at each other, and some even took out a mirror to look. They were surprised to find that they were not injured at all. What's going on? I clearly felt that I was hit by a sword. Yes, it's too amazing. I thought I was going to die just now. Teacher, how did you do it? One by one, the students asked questions. Li Mo smiled faintly. This is the sword intent that I want to show you. Only by mastering sword intent can you be considered to have truly entered the path of swordsmanship. Only then can you comprehend profound sword skills. If you can't do this, then no matter how much you cultivate your sword skills, you will at most be like Lin Jun. With a strong astral power as a backing, you can defeat 10 with 1 strength. However, in the end, it is still a low-grade sword skill. Hearing this, Lin Jun took a deep breath. Although the teacher's words weren't pleasant to hear, it was the truth. His swordsmanship wasn't good enough. Just as Li Mo said, if he did not learn sword intent, he would never be able to comprehend life extinction. Life extinction, as the name implied, was to exterminate immortal martial artists. However, the threshold to comprehend it was extremely high. The current Lin Jun could not do it. Teacher, how can I master sword intent? Lin Jun asked. Li Mo glanced at Lin Jun with some relief. Among these students, he felt that Lin Jun was the calmest and most motivated. He did not know where he came from. Such a child should not be born in a poor family. This is a good question. Some people think that the first thing to comprehend sword intent is to have a good sword and then comprehend it. However, I want to tell you that the comprehension of sword intent has nothing to do with the quality of the sword. No matter how good the sword is, it is just a weapon. The most important thing is the person using the weapon. Speaking of this, Li Mo's gaze fell on Lin Jun. Having no sword in your hand, but a sword in your heart, is the foundation of comprehending sword intent. The sword is everywhere. When you comprehend this point, your sword intent will be formed. The students were stunned. The teacher's words were too profound, and they could not understand. My lesson is over. Whether you can comprehend it or not depends on your luck. After speaking, Li Mo tidied up his things and turned to leave the classroom. Lin Jun also stood up and prepared to leave. He still had many things to do. Now, There were people sending him large amounts of cosmos crystals every day. He was trying to condense a world stone and had already succeeded by half. In another 8 to 10 days, he would be able to condense a world stone and meet the requirements to become a world king. Moreover, in the remaining time, he had to comprehend what Li Mo meant by having no sword in his hand but a sword in his heart. At this time, a girl stopped Lin Jun. "Su Qinggan, class is over. Come and eat something with me. I know of a new restaurant nearby. The ice fire pot there is very good. They also have a new dish of soy sauce dragon meat. I believe you haven't tried it yet." This girl was called Lan Lan. She was the little princess of the class. She was relatively beautiful and came from a relatively good background. It was said that she would not be attending classes here for a period of time. Lin Jun obviously wouldn't have any interest in this kind of girl. He shook his head slightly. "I still want to practice my sword. What's the point of practicing your sword all day? You won't gain much from attending classes here. My father is now the secretary of an adjutant in the Grand Council and earns a lot of money. In a few days, he will hire a private tutor of the domain king level for me. When the time comes, you can come with me. You won't have to bear any expenses. I guarantee that you will improve much faster than attending classes here." "Thank you, but I won't be going." Lin Jun was completely expressionless. His tone wasn't cold, but the indifference in it was enough to ruthlessly strike a girl's heart. Lan Lan's expression changed. She wasn't a good-tempered girl. When Su Qinggan appeared in the class, she fell in love with him. She even warned the other girls not to get close to Su Qinggan. This was the person she had chosen. The others didn't dare to offend Lan Lan and could only avoid Lin Jun. In her opinion, Lin Jun was just a good-looking boy. His family background wasn't worth mentioning. It was his fortune that she fell in love with him. He had no reason or leeway to reject her. However, Lin Jun's behavior now completely infuriated Lan Lan. "Su Qinggan, you'd better think carefully." Lin Jun walked forward without turning back. Lan Lan bit her lips fiercely, and her eyes were filled with anger. "How dare you? You actually didn't give me face." Good. Let's see what you're relying on." Lan Lan also turned to leave. She wanted to investigate Lin Jun's family background. If he didn't have any background, she would capture Lin Jun and bring him to her bed, even if she had to send people to capture him. This was the law of the jungle in the primordial realm where the strong preyed on the weak. It wasn't just bad men who bullied women. Some women were just as overbearing. If they fancied something, they would get it. If you didn't have the ability to fight against them, then you could only obediently accept your fate. Lan Lan was also a young miss in the peace dojo. Even the dojo master had to give face to her father. Hence, when she looked up Lin Jun's information, the dojo master immediately agreed. When Lan Lan received Lin Jun's information, she revealed a puzzled expression. Because Lin Jun's information said that Su Qinggan came from Haisun County's Changshan Prefecture. However, Lan Lan herself came from this prefecture. If Lin Jun also came from there, why didn't she know? "Investigate Su Qinggan's family background for me," Lan Lan ordered. She didn't think too much about it. If this was the truth, then there was even less to worry about. Chapter 742. Is this Mr. Su Qinggan? The universe crystals you ordered have arrived. Please check and accept them. Lin Jun received another batch of universe crystals in his rented apartment. This was already the third batch. Every time, Lin Jun would purchase a few billion cosmos crystals. Anyway, this item was very cheap. Even so, Lin Jun had already spent 2 to 3 billion yuan. Currently, he only had less than 5 billion yuan on hand. After receiving the universe crystals, Lin Jun returned to the city and began a new round of condensation. He sat cross-legged on his bed and used his mental power to observe his inner world. Within his inner world, within the space of the dark star, a mass of universe crystals floated there. The glowing green flames repeatedly calcined the universe crystals, condensing them into a large mass. At the edge of the distant space, billowing waves of energy were surging. This was the power to open up a world. As long as Lin Jun could expand the edge once more, he would enter the World King realm. It's about time. One more time, and my World Stone core will be completed ahead of time. If it can give me 1,000,000 stars, then everything will be a success. Lin Jun could feel that if this world's stone core was completed, it should be able to give him 1,000,000 stars. At that time, it would be the time for him to break through. After choosing for a while in the shopping mall, he ordered another batch of universe crystals. He didn't buy too many at once. This was a critical moment, and it was better to be careful. There were shouts and neighs from outside. The army had started to capture people again. There was no need to ask. These people were chasing after Lin Jun. Although they hadn't caught Lin Jun, they had caught many other people and solved many cases. Lin Jun listened vigilantly. After a while, these people would pass by. He didn't want to run around. The outside was very strict, and he would be easily discovered if he wasn't careful. And most importantly, Lin Jun couldn't casually use his avatar to fight. This was because if his avatar was injured, then he would have to use his main body. At that time, it would attract Tian Ting's pursuit. Therefore, Lin Jun looked forward to being able to pass this period of time peacefully. Closing his eyes, Lin Jun started to understand what Li Mo said about having no sword in his hand but a sword in his heart. However, how could it be so easy to comprehend? After a night, Lin Jun didn't have the slightest harvest. Just like that, another 3 days passed. In addition to comprehending the sword principle, Lin Jun had also finished refining the elixir during this period of time. He had already stored up a lot of spiritual pills, but the medicine to treat Ning Qingshuan's amnesia had not been refined yet. This was because he still lacked 3 ingredients. Moreover, treating amnesia was not something that could be done in a day or two, so he could not rush it. Southern Liang's investigation did not slow down at all, and Liang Jihuan had announced that the Empress was fine and would be brought back to the Imperial Palace in 3 days. Upon hearing this news, Lin Jun knew that he wouldn't be able to stay here for long. Perhaps this was a smokescreen released by Liang Jihuan, bait to lure Lin Jun out. However, Lin Jun had to swallow it. He couldn't just watch as Ning Qingxian returned to the Imperial Palace. Now that she had amnesia, she might really be deceived by Liang Jihuan. One more day. Tomorrow, I'll be able to completely refine the core of the World Stone and then break through to the World King realm. Although I haven't comprehended the sword intent, I can't wait any longer. I have to go back. The next morning, Lin Jun's last batch of universe crystals was delivered. Before Lin Jun could begin to condense them, someone knocked on the door. Lin Jun opened the door and found that it was Lan Lan. Do you need something? Su Qinggan, come with me. Lan Lan turned and was about to leave. Lin Jun didn't move. He didn't want to be entangled with this woman at this juncture. Lan Lan turned back. Su Qinggan, you better know your place. What should I call you? Can you tell me where your hometown is? Who are your family members? There's no need for me to tell you. Ha! What a joke. You're not even called Su Qinggan. Lan Lan suddenly raised her voice. I don't care who you are. If you don't want to come with me, then there's a problem. It's good that you're obedient now. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. Lin Jun glanced at her. He didn't expect that at this point, this woman would be the problem. Should I get rid of her? He didn't expect Lan Lan to be so fierce. Seeing that Lin Jun still didn't agree, she immediately shouted, Guards, there's a wanted criminal here. I want to report him. He might be Lin Jun. She didn't know who Su Qinggan was at all. However, in order to scare him, she would rather make a big fuss. Because she had already investigated clearly, Su Qinggan didn't exist. Therefore, she concluded that there must be a problem with him. At this point, Lin Jun raised his hand, and a flick sword chi pierced through her forehead. Blood flowed out from between her eyebrows. Lan Lan died on the spot. With a wave of his hand, she was sent into the dark star space and served as a snack for the devil dragon. Although Lan Lan was killed, it still attracted the attention of the people around, especially when she shouted the name Lin Jun. This was the most sensitive nerve of the Southern Liang people. It was early in the morning. There were a lot of people on the street. When they saw Lin Jun kill someone, they didn't care if it was true or not. Immediately, many people called the police on the spot. There was an army nearby. Someone calling the police through the dimensional universe was not as fast as shouting here. Immediately, the army rushed over and reported to their superiors at the same time. Seeing this situation, Lin Jun sighed. He knew that he couldn't stay here any longer. Let's go. We'll be fine after hiding for 2 more days. Lin Jun immediately turned around and left. However, before he could move, a burst of dense gunfire came from all directions. Above the sky, countless surveillance cameras were aimed at this place and fired from outer space. Lin Jun shuttled through the gunfire, and his shoulder was slightly injured. I have to go to a place that no one else can reach. Lin Jun had already made preparations. He was in the northeast city, which was basically a suburb. There was an erupting volcano nearby. Thick smoke billowed from the volcano, and flames rose. If one didn't have a strong control of the fire element, they wouldn't be able to survive in it. Lin Jun chose to stay here because of this volcano. If there was no other choice, he could dive into the volcano and survive for 2 days. Now that it was such a time, Lin Jun simply ran along the street. His goal was this volcano known as Hell. The sounds of weapons and armor rang out as a group of dragon knights appeared on the street. These were the elite troops of the imperial family. Every dragon knight had the strength of a peak domain king or even a world king. As for these dragon knights, they were all world king masters. They had specially come to capture Lin Jun. Lin Jun didn't need to use his avatar at this time. His main body appeared. He lifted his hand, and Liang Jihuan's sword appeared in his hand. Besides his throwing knives, this was his only other weapon. Speaking of which, Lin Jun had profited. This sword was called Dragon Ascension, and its quality was much higher than Phantom Light. After all, this was the Emperor's weapon, so it couldn't be too bad. Supreme Abyss. Facing these world kings, Lin Jun didn't dare to be too careless. His first attack was a sure-kill sword skill. With a slash of his sword, the enemies were thrown into chaos. Although they were world kings, they were still far from being able to compare to Lin Jun. A single strike was enough to kill 7 or 8 dragon knights. Using the gaps in the crowd, Lin Jun rushed out at high speeds. Stop him! His Majesty has decreed that whoever captures Lin Jun will be rewarded with 300 billion. With such a great reward, there were bound to be brave men. Immediately, many people rushed over, wanting to block Lin Jun. Lin Jun had never liked to attack ordinary people. These people were at most deceived, but there was no sense of accomplishment in killing them. But at this time, Lin Jun would not be merciful in the slightest. If you were merciful, others would think you were weak. I risked my life to obtain first place on the Divine Punishment Star for the Southern Liang. Not only are you not grateful, but you even want to kill me. If that's the case, then what use is there in keeping you alive? Kill. Only by killing these people until they were afraid would they understand that although some things seemed beautiful, they were not things they could covet. If they forcefully pursued them, they would only pay with their lives. With a flick of his sword, a sword energy soared into the world. The streets were already packed with people. In a short period of time, tens of thousands of people had gathered. Lin Jun's merciless attack killed at least 5,000 people. Large numbers of human heads rose into the air. Countless blood pillars were more spectacular than fountains. These ordinary people in the Yuan realm could no longer pose any threat to Lin Jun. With one slash, there were still people rushing over. Then he slashed again. Killing one was killing. Killing 10,000 was also killing. Killing one was a crime. Killing 10,000 was a hero. Killing 9 million was a hero among heroes. Lin Jun was not in a hurry to leave. He waved the sword in his hand. It did not matter if they were soldiers or ordinary people, whether they were here to catch him or just to watch the show. As long as they appeared in his line of sight, he would slash them with sword energy. 1 minute. In 1 minute, almost 100,000 soldiers, police officers, and civilians who came to kill Lin Jun had fallen. One of the streets was empty. It had already become a ghost town in the human world. Perhaps some people were still watching from afar, or perhaps some were still alive, but they no longer dared to make any noise. The figure bathed in blood was like a demon from hell. It was enough to scare people to death. He walked on the street with his sword upside down. The tip of the sword drew across the bluestone streets, producing a crisp and soul-stirring sound. Wherever Lin Jun's gaze passed, he could even hear some people screaming in fear or even falling to the ground. No one dared to stand out anymore. In the distant sky, The second round of artillery fire was about to start. Lin Jun did not need to stay any longer. He summoned the two-headed demon dragon and headed straight for the Hell Volcano. The people chasing after Lin Jun had already caught up. When they saw the hellish scene, they immediately teleported him into the dimensional universe. Heavens! Oh great God! What did Lin Jun, this demon, do? We must catch him and kill him, for the sake of taking revenge for the people of southern Liang. Lin Jun's atrocities had angered the army, the royal family, and the people. Under the call of Emperor Liang Jihuan, they began to collectively chase after Lin Jun. With the army taking the lead, the people were not so afraid anymore. They rushed forward and joined the team chasing after Lin Jun. The 100,000 vanguard followed Lin Jun all the way to the edge of the Hell Volcano. Lin Jun didn't stop. He put away the two-headed dragon and dived into the volcano, disappearing without a trace. Then, a sea of people arrived. 1 million, 10 million, 100 million, 1 billion. Chapter 743. This video of Lin Jun's evil massacre caused a huge uproar in southern Liang. This time, it wasn't just the royal family that was enraged. The people were also completely ignited. Countless people took to the streets, demanding that Lin Jun be severely punished. Holding banners and slogans, the angry people came to the government office and even took the initiative to request to participate in the battle. Such a large-scale operation increased the pressure on the government. They had no choice but to send out the local army to maintain law and order. However, they quickly gave the people a satisfactory answer. Lin Jun had already entered the Hell Volcano. Currently, the Hell Volcano was surrounded by an inescapable net. Tens of billions of soldiers were guarding it. Even if Lin Jun grew wings, he wouldn't be able to escape. Even if too many people went over, it would be useless. This was because the area within a 500-mile radius of the volcano was already filled with people. The defensive firepower in the sky had already been prepared, and there were even more high-level martial artists standing guard underground. There was no chance for Lin Jun to use Earth Escape. The royal family even announced that the entire country was on holiday. The people went to watch the grand event of Lin Jun being surrounded and killed. There were also many literati who came forward to condemn Lin Jun's atrocities. They believed that this person was a butcher and a villain. Living was a crime. The impassioned articles stirred up the hearts of the people of Nanyang. The heroes of the past had become the common enemy of the people, and everyone had the right to kill them. Southern Liang's big move attracted the attention of many neighboring countries. Some countries even sent reporters to report on the situation at the Hell Volcano. At the center of the storm, there was a sea of people at the Hell Volcano. The royal family, the Green Leaf sect, and the military were all there to discuss countermeasures. The first thing they did was to completely seal off the area. They definitely wouldn't give Lin Jun the slightest chance to escape. According to Shi Zhonglia, Lin Jun had to teleport away if he wanted to live. Otherwise, he would be torn apart by the people, even if he turned into thin air. The problem was that there was no teleportation array here. He couldn't teleport away. Tai Ernyang brought Tian Ting here. This time, Tian Ting even obtained the blood of Lin Jun's doppelganger. Whether it was the main body or the doppelganger, they could not escape Tian Ting's tracking. After Tian Ting arrived, he stood at the mouth of the volcano and barked nonstop. This further proved that Lin Jun was inside the volcano. Shi Zhonglia came to the front of the crowd. There were already more than 10 immortal martialists gathered around him. A few of them were from the imperial family, including Tai Ernyang and Tai Sanyang from the Green Leaf sect. There were also a few people who had volunteered to come, determined to rid the world of evil. All 12 of them were at the Longevity Realm. Everyone, His Majesty has already issued a decree. He wants us to kill Lin Jun at all costs and by hook or by crook. His Majesty will reward us handsomely. Everyone nodded one after another. This was already the consensus of everyone. Right now, the whole of Daliang and even the neighboring countries are watching us. We can't afford to embarrass ourselves anymore. Lin Jun has already brought too much harm to southern Liang. That's right. This old man came here this time to completely eliminate this scum. Commander, sure, there's nothing else to say. Just tell us what we should do. This one is willing to be the vanguard and meet this butcher with his hands stained with blood. The surrounding people were all filled with righteous indignation. They couldn't wait to fight Lin Jun immediately. Good. I can understand everyone's feelings, but this hell volcano is not simple. It was formed millions of years ago. It is said that it was when a star reached the end of its lifespan. After it shattered, a large piece fell here and smashed open the mouth of the volcano. Since then, this place would erupt every 2 to 3 days. It has already become a disaster for the city. The temperature inside the volcano is extremely high. Although everyone is at the longevity realm, I dare say that not many of us can reach the deepest part of the volcano to capture Lin Jun. A civilian martialist asked, "Then how did Lin Jun reach the deepest part of the volcano?" Without waiting for Shi Zhongliet to answer, Tai Ernyang had already snorted coldly. Lin Jun is an alchemist and a 6th-grade alchemist. Every alchemist is the ancestor of fire. Of course, he can go in where you can't. The civilian martialist's face changed when he heard Tai Ernyang's words. However, he really didn't dare to argue with this old witch. He could only pinch his nose and bear with it. Chapter 744. Inside the volcano, Lin Jun's cultivation had reached a crucial point. The commotion outside didn't affect him at all. After entering the volcano, Lin Jun dove into the deepest part of the volcano, into the boiling magma. Lin Jun was about to form a bright green flame. This bit of firepower couldn't hurt him, allowing him to dodge safely. He didn't care how many people were outside. He didn't care at all. From the moment he started his massacre, Lin Jun had completely shed all pretense of cordiality with the southern Yang people. And Lin Jun didn't regret it at all. He felt that he had a clear conscience. I never wanted to hurt you, but you treated me like this. Then don't blame me for being heartless. The killing intent in his heart didn't decrease at all. Lin Jun began to condense the world stone again. The last batch of universe crystals was already in his dark star space. At this moment, the surrounding firepower was incomparably abundant. Lin Jun could release his flames to his heart's content. Balls of flames surged out from the dark star and wrapped around the world stone. As the flames rose, the world stone began to change. All the universe crystals were condensed together and smelted into an extremely large universe crystal. The universe crystal that Lin Jun saw in Yin Junkai's inner world was completely child's play compared to this. And Lin Jun's world stone wasn't complete. When the inner world truly appeared, this world stone would greatly increase. Condensing this world stone now was to accumulate star power in advance, allowing Lin Jun's star power to exceed 10 million. As the last wisp of flame disappeared, the world stone was formed. A ball-like stone with a diameter of 10 meters appeared. It was completely made of universe crystals. After being forged at high temperatures, it had already fused together. It floated in the dark star space and emitted strands of star power. And Lin Jun's star power also increased at this moment. 1 star power point, 10 star power points, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, 500,000, 1 million, 2 million. The world stone's astral energy had exceeded Lin Jun's estimation. It had given him a total of 2 million points of astral energy. As a result, Lin Jun's astral power had soared to 11 million points. Not only did he reach the legendary 10 million star power, but it also exceeded 1 million. Did he break the record? Lin Jun didn't know if he broke the record or not, but the increase in star power brought him a shocking change. The change was in the purple gas that appeared when he first opened the world. Lin Jun had used this purple cloud many times, but he had only used up less than 1/5 of it. Most of it was still there. When the world stone was formed, the purple cloud twisted in the air a few times and then merged into Lin Jun's body. All the meridians and bones were being injected by the purple gas, filled with intense pain. Lin Jun only frowned slightly. This degree of pain was nothing to him. This purple gas flow was so powerful that it quickly filled Lin Jun's body. Every pore on his skin was constantly spewing out purple gas. As the gas was saturated, Lin Jun closed his eyes, but his mind power started to spread out infinitely. His mind power passed through the magma, the volcano, the space, and directly reached the outside. Outside, people were shouting and horses were neighing. It was a bustling construction site. Everyone was working hard as one. With the spirit of a foolish old man moving mountains, they were gradually emptying the volcano. He could see everyone's gratified, smiling faces, dripping sweat, working hard, monitoring, and being on guard. All of this was to supervise him, the great demon king, and to work hard to eliminate the great demon king. What a touching scene. In Lin Jun's eyes, the space of the primordial realm was no longer so stable and unfamiliar. Just like the space of the new territories, he could easily come and go as he pleased. Lin Jun suddenly opened his eyes. The purple gas retracted, and everything returned to normal. I know now. This is the power of space-time, the power of space. Lin Jun's face was filled with excitement. He had finally obtained a talent, and that was teleportation. The teleportation that had helped Lin Jun a lot in the new territories was not very useful in the primordial realm. That was because the space pressure in the primordial realm was too great, and teleportation was difficult to move forward. Even if he teleported out, he could only move a few hundred to a few thousand meters. But now, the purple gas born in these worlds had turned into the power of space and provided him with a new talent, which was teleportation. In order to test the distance of teleportation, Lin Jun condensed the purple gas into a line and extended it into the starry sky above his head. After a while, he got the result. With his current star power, he could teleport out 1 million meters. 1,100,000 meters. That's 1,100 kilometers. To be able to teleport to such a distance in the primordial realm, even a mortal realm martial artist couldn't do it. Moreover, as Lin Jun's star power grew, his teleportation would become stronger and stronger. Maybe one day, I can recover the ability of the new territories and teleport planets in the primordial realm. If I can teleport planets, I might even be able to cross the endless sea of stars. Lin Jun thought for a moment, and his thoughts immediately returned to reality. With teleportation, Lin Jun even had the ability to escape the encirclement of tens of billions of people. But at this moment, he didn't want to leave. He had more important things to do. That was to break through to the World King realm. After his star power exceeded 10 million, and he obtained the power of space and could teleport at will, Lin Jun wanted to break through. Not only did he want to break through to the World King realm, but he also wanted to advance his spirit power to dark gold. His spirit power had already reached the peak of gold. After refining the spirit power pills, he could already take them. Only with dark gold spirit power would it be harder for others to interrupt his teleportation. Taking out a handful of pills, Lin Jun swallowed them without hesitation. An hour later, the evolution of his spiritual sea in his mind was completed. The dark gold spirit power had reached 20%. Very good. With this spirit power, ordinary immortal realm martial artists won't be able to interrupt my teleportation. This method is truly effective. After breaking through his spirit power, Lin Jun didn't stop at all. At this time, the timing was right. His breakthrough to the World King realm was a matter of course. This was because with the completion of the condensation of the World Stone, his star power had reached a saturation point. It even began to automatically break through uncontrollably. At this time, Lin Jun's heart was bursting with excitement. World King. Before he was reborn, the strongest person he knew was the World King. He didn't even know that there was a realm above the World King. In the entire new territories, the World King was the strongest person, someone who stood at the peak of the universe. Lin Jun had been working hard towards this goal for a long time. Even in the primordial realm, World King powerhouses had a very high status. After all, there were too few immortal realm powerhouses. As long as it was a World King, there were no mediocre people. They were respected and revered by others. And after 1,000 years of his previous life, 1,000 years of his rebirth, and 2,000 years of time, Lin Jun was about to reach this realm. Let's begin. From this moment on, I can be considered to have a firm foothold in the primordial realm. All other emotions were swept away at this moment. Lin Jun adjusted his emotions and entered a state of emptiness. His spirit power swept through the dark star space. After so long of preparation, not only did he prepare a large number of World King pills, but he also prepared a large number of star crystals on the small tree on the island in the center of the starfruit tree. He had waited far too long for this day. These medicines and star crystals could finally be put to good use. My World King, don't disappoint me. Lin Jun took out all the medicines and swallowed them all. He was already on the verge of breaking through. But after receiving the powerful medicinal efficacy, an intense chemical reaction immediately occurred. Kacha! A blue thunderbolt pierced through Lin Jun's dantian. This thunderbolt carried with a supreme heavenly might. It was simply unstoppable. As the thunderbolt fell, his dantian was on the verge of collapse. This was annihilation. Without destruction, there could be no construction. Only by destroying the old dantian would a new dantian starry sky appear. Besides the black hole in Lin Jun's dantian, everything burst like a bubble, then split apart and reformed. At this moment, the black hole began to crazily spin. A new starry sky world was about to be born, and the black hole was constantly growing. A bright light, like a spark, appeared at the core of Lin Jun's world. Bright, annihilation, bright, annihilation, bright, annihilation. After flashing 3 times, it was time to split open the world. Boundless energy waves swept up, blooming from the core of the world and spreading outwards. It was like the shock wave of an atomic bomb explosion. Everywhere it passed, a new world would appear. Starry sky after starry sky appeared. Starry river after starry river crossed the horizon. This was no longer a small galaxy, nor was it a star field, but a boundless star world. Above the world stone, light flashed. The world stone that had just condensed not long ago expanded once again. Balls of universe crystals appeared from the void and merged with the original world stone. The newly formed world stone expanded from 10 meters to 15 meters in diameter. Moreover, it was highly condensed. The star energy contained within was 10 times, dozens of times more than the Yin Jun World King that Lin Jun had seen before. Vigorous star energy howled, and vast starlight rushed into the sky. Wind blew and clouds surged. Energy was like a tide that swept back and forth. This was not the dark star space, not the dark star space. This was a new world. An unsuppressible energy rose from Lin Jun's body, attacking every corner of his body. Lin Jun's face was red. He was suppressing the roaring energy in his chest. However, this energy was so unsuppressible that he finally couldn't take it anymore. He fiercely opened his mouth, and a roar pierced through time and space, accompanied by a ray of starlight that rushed into the sky. The starlight tore through the magma and rushed into the sky. The agitated sound reverberated through the world, causing the people who were still working outside to stop and look at everything with shock. Chapter 745. When he was in a good state, He-Tu could explode a lot in a day. When he was in a bad state, he would not be able to write a word for a long time. Today, He-Tu was in a good state. He had started to pay back his debts. He had already paid back 3 chapters and had even updated 1 chapter as a guarantee. He had written a total of 19,000 words. At present, there were still 2 chapters that he owed. He would definitely have to pay them off tomorrow. Furthermore, tomorrow's plot would enter a climax. Lin Jun would completely explode and sweep away all the monsters. The double monthly votes would also be on the last day. Dear readers, let's see if you can use your monthly votes to smash He-Tu to the ground. Or will He-Tu's explosiveness empty your monthly votes? And this climax is not over yet. Chapter 746. Everyone, hurry up and get to work. That Lin Jun is just putting up a desperate struggle. Ignore him. Sure, Zhonglia didn't take it to heart. In this situation, Lin Jun couldn't make a comeback. The construction continued, and at most one more day, the volcano would be completely hollowed out. By then, Lin Jun would have no choice but to surrender. Just as the construction site was in full swing, another piece of news came. The emperor would officially bring the empress back to the palace today. The people of southern Liang were still on the emperor's side regarding the emotional entanglement between the emperor, Lin Jun, and Ning Qingxian. After all, Liang Jihuan was the emperor. His status was there. Moreover, if Ning Qingxian were to be with Lin Jun, she wouldn't be able to stay in southern Liang anymore. This was something the people of southern Liang couldn't accept. Once the news came out, the people of southern Liang cheered and left messages in the dimensional universe. They hoped that the emperor would be able to show his prowess and take down the empress today. Then, there would be no more suspense. Everyone, let's work harder. Let's take down Lin Jun today and present it to the emperor. Okay, everyone agreed in unison. The work sped up again. When the whistling sound pierced through the clouds, Lin Jun's breakthrough had reached the most critical moment. The World Stone's core had already been formed. It emitted dense world energy and gradually connected with Lin Jun's dark star space. After all, both were real worlds. It was normal for them to attract each other. At this point, the dark star space was about to merge with his Dantian. At this point, the point where Lin Jun could transfer his star power would completely disappear. This meant that Lin Jun wouldn't be able to use star power transfer anymore. Lin Jun immediately used star power transfer in advance and transferred all of his clone's star power into his Dantian world. Since he couldn't use it, the clone's 8 million star power couldn't be wasted. At the very least, he had to get some interest back. 8 million stars were injected into the World Stone, giving it more power. Under the Dark Star, dense Earth elemental energy surged. The World Stone was the core of the Earth elemental energy. From this core, the Earth elemental energy spread outward, forming a new continent. This was the World King's true world. That starry sky was not the true world. The Earth element formed soil, sand, and rocks on the continent. The elements within the dark star space continued to surge, and the metal elements were also injected into the soil, forming minerals. The air above the continent formed an atmosphere, and the water element was injected here to form rivers. Occasionally, there would be sparks, and the power of various elements would gather in the air to form clouds. Rain fell from the sky, and the lightning elements danced in the clouds like golden snakes. The seeds of life began to take root and germinate on the continent, growing at an incredible speed, forming moss and weeds. Looking from the continent, the dark star was suspended in the sky. The distance between the two was relatively far, but one could still see the dark star ring around the dark star. At the edges of the continent, the star force continued to push forwards, causing the continent to rumble and expand outwards. Universe crystals shimmered at the edges. This was something that would only appear when a new world was formed. Normally, when a World King's inner world was formed, the continent would be oval in shape, with a minimum length of 10,000 kilometers. Normal ones were around 30,000 to 50,000 kilometers in length. The standard of a genius was 100,000 kilometers in length. But when Lin Jun's continent was born, it had already surpassed 100,000 kilometers in length. As it expanded, this distance continued to grow. Soon, it broke through 300,000 kilometers, 500,000 kilometers. Finally, when the continent reached 1,000,000 kilometers in length, the dark star ring seemed very small compared to it. This was a new land, the endless blue Mang continent. If there were people living here, then it could support at least 100 billion people. But what Lin Jun cared about the most at this time was the growth of his star force. Before breaking through to the World King realm, Lin Jun's star force had reached 11 million stars, allowing him to grasp the power of space within the primordial realm and practice teleportation. Now that he had broken through to the World King realm, his star force began to grow at an unprecedented rate. From this point on, Lin Jun no longer distinguished between his star force and the power of the dark star space. This was because the dark star space was his inner world and could be recorded into the strength of his star force. Lin Jun originally thought that reaching 15 million star force would be amazing. After all, if he were to display 100% of his strength, then anyone with a star force below 30 million wouldn't be his match. But he never imagined that he would be given such a great surprise this time. When his star force reached 15 million, it didn't stop. Instead, it continued to climb. 17 million, 18 million, 19 million, 20 million. When his star force broke through the 20 million mark, Lin Jun's hair danced in the wind, his mood surging. At this time, the medicinal efficacy of the large number of pills he had swallowed was gradually being exhausted. The growth of his star force slowed down a bit, but it still continued. 21 million, 22 million. At this time, Lin Jun's star force doubled once more. From 11 million star force, it had doubled once more. At this time, the power of the World Stone had nearly disappeared. But the 8 million star force that Lin Jun had transferred from his avatar began to play a role once more. These 8 million star force weren't completely used. Through the conversion of the World Stone, Lin Jun's star force increased by another 4 million star force. His star force climbed to a small peak once more, reaching 26 million star force. The growth of his star force also gradually slowed down. But Lin Jun didn't want to stop. He still had a massive number of star crystals in his inner world. If he didn't use these treasures that didn't have any side effects, when would he? Star crystals were plucked out one by one, constantly being absorbed. The edge of the world that had stopped expanding gained momentum once more and began to rumble outwards. Lin Jun's boundary jumped from a first-level world king to a second-level world king. This was because Lin Jun's starting point was far too high and his foundation was far too great. Every time a world king increased his star force level, it would bring him an even greater amount of star force. This was the advantage of breaking through his limits every time. Every time he leveled up, Lin Jun's star force would increase by 2 million star force. After his 26 million star force leveled up, it reached 28 million star force. Lin Jun originally thought that he had a great deal of star crystals in reserve, but now he realized just how much star force was required to break through the World King realm. To reach the second-level World King, he had consumed nearly half of his star crystals. I don't want more. Just give me another level up. Lin Jun grit his teeth and swallowed all the star crystals he had. His star force rose once more, advancing from the second-level World King to the third-level World King. This leveling up was a bit difficult. When his star force climbed to the peak of the second-level World King, it nearly stopped. But luckily, the heavens favored Lin Jun. The last bit of star force broke through the barrier between the second level and the third level, sending Lin Jun to the third-level World King realm. His star force rose by another 2 million star force, reaching the 30 million mark. At this point, Lin Jun's earth-shattering breakthrough finally came to an end. 30 million star force. This was a strength that Lin Jun had never even dared to dream of. Although he had lost the star force transference, with this amount of star force, Lin Jun didn't need the 8 million star force transference anymore. Although he had lost the avatar of Hua Hua Tai Sui, with Lin Jun's current strength, that avatar was no longer suitable for Lin Jun to continue using. If it was lost, then it was lost. What sort of concept was 30 million star force? When Qin Jianfeng had star force transference and also swallowed pills, his star force had only reached 30 million. Moreover, in front of Lin Jun's 30 million star force transference, his 30 million star force transference was nothing. This was because Lin Jun had the undying spirit body that allowed him to display 100% of his star force. If Lin Jun's opponent didn't have a divine body, then he would only be able to display 50% of his star force. Against such an opponent, if their star force didn't surpass 60 million star force, then Lin Jun wouldn't even put them in his eyes. After his dark gold level soul force swept through his dantian, Lin Jun made another discovery. Currently, the interior of Lin Jun's dantian was like this. At the very top was a river of stars. Below the river of stars was the real world. At the very top of the real world were the 7 great ominous stars. Currently, 4 of them were lit: Mars, Moon Petal, 5 ghosts, and 7 kills. These stars were emitting light and heat. They were the suns of his inner world. Below the 7 great ominous stars was the dark star. Above the dark star were the star fruit trees, the space-time wanderer flowers, and the snow lotus flowers. Below the dark star was the endless Kangmang continent. Now that the Kangmang continent had evolved twice, the length of the continent had reached 2 million kilometers. It could be said to be vast and boundless. Below the continent, there was a black hole that spun silently. Within the black hole, the 3 god annihilation thunders had already finished recovering. The massive amount of strength brought about by breaking through to the World King realm allowed Lin Jun to replenish the 2 god annihilation thunders that he had used up. With the god annihilation thunders restored, Lin Jun had gained another trump card. Lin Jun rummaged through his interspatial ring and took out a god power pill. Glancing at it, he put the god power pill back. This thing had side effects, so if he didn't need to use it, then he wouldn't. Now that he had 30 million star force and the primordial realm was vast, he could go anywhere he wanted. Under normal circumstances, he wouldn't need to use the god power pill. He slowly pressed his hands down and his star force calmed down. A lotus flower appeared between Lin Jun's eyebrows. His breakthrough was complete. 3rd level World King. Master, there is news from the dimensional universe. Liang Jihuan will be bringing Ning Qingxian back to the palace today. Lin Jun nodded. The timing was just right. Lin Jun originally wanted to leave the volcano and directly teleport to the palace at the fastest speed possible. But there was a commotion outside. Suddenly, a ray of sunlight shone in from above. There was a burst of loud cheers outside. We dug through. We dug through. It's so hot down here. There's boiling lava everywhere. Hurry and give us some cooling medicine. Woof, woof, woof. The heavens are barking. It's confirmed that Lin Jun is down there. Kill squad, get ready to prevent Lin Jun from rushing out. Attention, attention. Unrelated people, hurry and get out of the way to prevent Lin Jun from harming people in a moment of desperation. Is there an expert who can come over and capture Lin Jun?